Chapter 107 Holy Land. Death of the sect hierarch. Xuan did not know what Leah had gone through. Every few days, he would use his divine sense to search the Taicang dynasty. Leah was currently practicing his sword techniques at the borderlands of the Taicang dynasty, with an additional soul within his body. It appeared that the graceful crane traveler had not lied to him. Next, he would wait for the ephemera sect to gather, and then wipe them out in one swoop. Ever since Xuan had destroyed the ephemera tree, the ephemera sect had remained active, as if unaffected. It was apparent that there was more than one ephemera tree. The true enemy of the supreme sect was not the present ephemera sect, but the upcoming great cultivators of the ephemera sect main lineage. Xuan prepared to find an opportunity to elevate his cultivation to the 9th layer of the Mahayana realm. The gap between each minor realm was significant, especially in the higher realms. After the new year, everything returned to normal. Lu Lingjun no longer came to see Xuan. She worked daily, and in the evenings, she cultivated under the mystic pure tree. When Xuan looked at her, he felt that she did not want to meet his gaze. Perhaps it was just his illusion. An Xian quickly adapted to life in the 3rd Medicine Valley. With such a valley master, the disciples of the Medicine Valley were all kind-hearted. The people here did not prioritize cultivation, which made her feel quite relaxed. Spring passed and summer came. On this day, Xuan turned 61 years old. Today, Tang Yu came to receive a foundation establishment pill from Xuan. The entire Medicine Valley was bustling with excitement. Tang Yu represented their future. They seemed to see themselves breaking through to the foundation establishment stage. This also made Lu Lingjun rarely glance at Xuan a few times, while an Xian completely let down her guard. She felt that she had misunderstood Xuan. Xuan was indeed a good person. Xuan was not only good to his disciples, he spoke gently and never swore. He almost never wore a stern face and always smiled, giving people a sense of warmth. Sending off the disciples meant it was time to recruit new ones. Xuan still let Xuan handle the recruiting, as it was a way to increase Xuan's authority. At noon, Ji Xiaoyu came to visit Xuan. This top-ranking genius continued to cultivate her mind within the Medicine Valley, but they rarely interacted with the servant disciples, keeping their distance. "I am preparing to leave and participate in the Holy Land assessment," Ji Xiaoyu said softly after sitting down. Holy Land? As Xuan poured her tea, he curiously asked, "What kind of force is the Holy Land, and where is it located?" Ji Xiaoyu replied, "The Holy Land is the oldest force on this continent, with a heritage spanning 10,000 years, located beyond the 9 dynasties. They do not concern themselves with worldly matters nor participate in any conflicts. Every 100 years, they recruit disciples. After training in the Holy Land, one must leave after a maximum of 100 years. How long one can stay depends entirely on their fortune." The Ji family rose to prominence because of the Holy Land's heritage. Upon hearing this, Xuan became even more curious and asked, "What does the Holy Land seek that they do not retain anyone?" Ji Xiaoyu shook her head, "No one knows. Even the elders who have been to the Holy Land rarely speak of it. They only say that entering the Holy Land offers a chance to seek the immortal path." "How mysterious. I heard that a great demon catastrophe will occur in 100 years' time. Why does the Holy Land not take action?" Xuan continued to inquire. Ji Xiaoyu picked up her tea bowl and said, "Actually, a great demon catastrophe occurred even before the 9 dynasties. During that time, the continent was dominated by demons, and humans were barely surviving, raised as livestock by the demons and ghosts. Even then, the Holy Land did not intervene. Despite the absence of the Holy Land's intervention, humanity eventually rose, establishing the 9 dynasties. The elders of our clan say that the Holy Land has seen through worldly affairs. They do not care about the safety of individuals in a single lifetime but focus on the perpetual existence of the immortal cultivation Taoist tradition." Upon hearing this, Xuan's perception of the Holy Land changed. It appeared that the Holy Land was indeed transcendent from the mundane world. He then stopped asking questions and instead wished Ji Xiaoyu success in her Holy Land assessment, hoping for smooth sailing. Ji Xiaoyu did not stay long, as she had to leave today. Guan escorted her downstairs and watched her leave. As Lu Lingjun walked by, she curiously asked, "Valley Master, who is that girl? She seems quite extraordinary." She had long noticed the 10 geniuses cultivating their minds in the Medicine Valley. Upon learning that these individuals were arranged by the sect leader and personally taught by Guan, her view of him had changed. Among the 10, the one who piqued her interest the most was Ji Xiaoyu. She could sense the aura of the primordial Daoist talisman and even had an impulse to seize it, but she restrained herself. A true disciple of the sect and a lady from the Ji family, named Ji Xiaoyu. She is one of the top geniuses in the sect, Guan introduced her. Indeed top-ranking, among the cultivators, with someone of higher lifespan than Ji Xiaoyu being only in Hao. And Hao had successfully achieved core formation and was rumored to have become a legend within the inner sect, unrivaled by anyone. Guyu even compared him to the true inheritor who was training outside. Many paths exist in this world. Not all geniuses need to participate in the 100 Clans tournament or join the Holy Land. Lu Lingjun nodded and then asked, "Valley Master, have you read the Supreme's secret records?" Gu An's smile froze. He frowned and said, "Why are you reading such a book?" "Oh dear. When can we ever get rid of this wind within the Supreme sect? Even the recent ascenders suffered because of it." Guan could not help cursing Shenzhen in his heart again. It was recommended to me by someone from the outer sect. Could it not have been written by the Valley Master? The main character's name is also Guan, Lu Lingjun said truthfully. Guan said furiously, "Do I look like that kind of person?" "Indeed you do not, so I wanted to ask," she said with a smile, feeling much more at ease as her suspicions dissolved, making Guan much more agreeable. She had held back for a long time, and today she finally could not resist asking. "Next time I must investigate the book collection hall. Their oversight is inadequate, allowing such books to be sold." "You should destroy that book," Guan said sternly. Lu Lingjun rarely saw him so serious, and inexplicably she felt happy. She asked with a smile, "Valley Master, do you think the Supreme's secret records is better, or is the Green Hero Travelogue better?" These words stunned Guan. Lu Lingjun did not wait for his answer, turned, and left. Guan watched her back, wanting to say something, but in the end, it turned into a sigh. His reputation was ruined. He shook his head and turned towards the pavilion, simultaneously pulling out the Green Hero Travelogue from his sleeve. Since his reputation was already ruined, he might as well not hide it. The moon hung high, and stars were sparse in the Mystic Valley. Guan was in the pavilion reading a secret book on cultivation techniques, which was a basic skill of the fire attribute. He had previously bought cultivation techniques of other attributes from the inner sect because seemingly no 5 elements skill existed, so he planned to comprehend it himself. Since he usually did not cultivate, what if he figured it out? Though his comprehension was poor, he had plenty of time on his hands. Until late at night, Guan suddenly detected an aura entering within 100 miles of the Mystic Valley. A void-crossing realm cultivator. Such a cultivator hiding their aura and approaching the Mystic Valley was not a good sign. Guan did not act immediately, as he suspected someone. Sure enough, after a while, Yang and I walked out of her courtyard and quietly left the Mystic Valley, quickly heading in the direction of the void-crossing realm great cultivator. Eventually, the two met in the woods over 30 miles away. In the dim forest, Yang and I stopped and looked at a figure under a tree in front of her. By the moonlight, she could see that it was a female cultivator. "You are a bit slow, Yang and I. Why have you stayed in the outer sect? Did Li Xiandao not arrange for you to enter the inner sect?" The female cultivator asked coldly. This female cultivator wore a purple dress, her hair styled into a bun with several jade hairpins inserted. She was graceful, with a beautiful face, and even though her eyes were full of coldness, they carried an allure. Yang and I replied, "He did not. Li Xiandao directed me to protect an outer sect disciple closely connected to his son, Liya." "Has Li Xiandao detected your true identity?" "I believe not, otherwise he would not have placed me with Liya." The ephemera tree was destroyed by a mysterious cultivator, and even the sect hierarch was killed. It was likely the work of a great cultivator from the Supreme Sect. You must find a way to investigate whether the Supreme Sect has any other cultivators above the 5th layer of the Unification Realm besides the sect leader. Above the 5th layer of the Unification Realm. Yang and I was taken aback and quickly said, with my cultivation level, how could I come into contact with someone from the Unification Realm? Based on the information from our contacts in the Hall of Elders, LV Badian has already failed to cross his tribulation, so he could not be the one who killed the sect hierarch. Such mystery leads us to suspect that it might be Sword Venerable Fudao. Since Sword Venerable Fudao became famous, our sect has been investigating him. After ruling out all possibilities, we can only speculate that Sword Venerable Fudao is a cultivator hiding his true cultivation level, possibly concealed in the outer sect where the Heavenly Repair Platform is located. The purple-dressed woman's words made Yang and I frown. Of course, Sword Venerable Fudao is just a guess. Anyway, you need to find a way to investigate the outer sect. Yang and I, upon hearing this, could not help but say, I've been growing ephemera flowers and cannot leave. Cannot leave? The purple-dressed woman hesitated before she released her divine sense to probe the distant mystic valley. A few breaths later, she scoffed, that boy does have a good appearance. Yang Nis' expression changed. She quickly said, do not lay a hand on him. What is your relationship? He is not only the person whom Li Xiandao wants to protect but also the disciple I have just taken. Your disciple? How about I take him? Silence. Yang and I was furious, immediately taking out her treasure sword. The purple-dressed woman looked at her with contempt and said, I will return next year. If you cannot provide me with satisfactory information, that boy will be mine. After draining his vital energy, I will turn his bones into a pendant for you, so you can think of him whenever you miss him. After saying this, she turned and left. Yang and I watched the purple-dressed woman's back, her eyes filled with anger. However, her hand could not draw the treasure sword. Taking a deep breath, she could only turn back to the valley. Her movements were swift, as if she were afraid something might happen to Xuan. As she quickly returned towards the mystic valley, the purple-dressed woman walked through the forest, reflecting on Yang Nis' earlier reaction, a mocking smile on her face. Slap. A hand suddenly pressed down on the purple-dressed woman's shoulder, making her stop instantly, her pupils dilating. Reflexively, she turned her head, catching a glimpse of a deep purple demonic shadow. Thou, bang! A terrifying divine sense forcefully invaded her mind, leaving her gaze blank. Elsewhere. Yang and I returned to the Mystic Valley. She arrived below Xuan's pavilion and saw that the oil lamp inside was still lit. She could sense Xuan's presence, and she finally breathed a sigh of relief. Inside, Xuan sat at the table, the purple-dressed woman kneeling before him, his right hand pressing on her head as he used the soul-capturing skill. His spiritual power covered the purple-dressed woman, and the 9 extremes yin-yang Bodhi's fortune enveloped her. Unless someone stepped inside, even a probe with divine sense would reveal neither her presence nor her aura. Chapter 108, Why Are You Forcing Me? Xuan originally just wanted to eavesdrop, but the woman in the purple dress used her divine sense to detect him and even showed hostility, implying that she wanted to tear him to pieces. Can this be tolerated? Xuan caught her directly. Before killing her, he first investigated the internal information of the ephemera sect. The woman's identity was obviously not simple, and he might get some useful information. The woman in the purple dress was named Xuan, previously an elder of the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. She joined the ephemera sect 200 years ago, and after the ephemera sect's defeat, she had been lurking within the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. Yang and I was personally recruited by her. Yang and I joined the sect because Xuan promised to help her find the murderer of her sister. Xuan's purpose in recruiting Yang and I was to monitor Li Xiandao and Leah. Xuan felt that Leah, who had inherited the heavenly resident sword, might become the crown prince, so she first had Yang and I monitor this father and son pair, waiting for the ephemera sect's resurgence. Yang and I didn't completely trust Xuan, she just wanted an additional channel to find the truth. Little did she know, the person who killed her sister was Xuan herself. The power structure of the ephemera sect was very complex, with many branches. Every void-crossing realm elder was working to establish their own achievements. As long as their contributions were significant, they could walk the Nine Nether Road, seeking the immortal path. Xuan had only heard of the Nine Nether Road, never seen it. It was said that the Nine Nether Road could cross the ocean to another continent. The Nine Nether Road was the Yin-Yang path opened by the ephemera sect, passing through a ghostly realm where Yin and Yang intersected, filled with evil ghosts and extreme danger, but also full of opportunities. After investigating for a long time, Xuan still did not obtain information about the main lineage of the ephemera sect and could not understand how powerful it was. When he withdrew his divine sense, an hour had already passed. He looked down at Xuan's alluring face, his eyes full of disdain. When he used the soul-capturing skill earlier, he saw many unspeakable scenes. A demon cultivator is just a demon cultivator. Xuan immediately ended Xuan's life, then burned her body to ashes. This great cultivator of the void-crossing realm died silently. She contributed decades of lifespan to Xuan, which was passable. Afterward, Xuan began to inventory her 2 storage rings. Meanwhile, Yang and I was in her room, still unable to calm her mind and cultivate. Xuan's threats kept surfacing in her mind. Thinking about how Xuan got involved because of her, she felt guilty. It wasn't that she had special feelings for Xuan, it's just that after so many years together, their relationship had grown closer. Thinking that such a good-natured junior might be persecuted because of her made her uneasy. By dawn, Lu Jiujia called the disciples out for exercise, and Xuan went downstairs. The plan for a day lies in the morning, Yang and I, it's time to come out and practice. Xuan went outside Yang and I's courtyard and shouted. Yang and I quickly came out, only nodding slightly to Xuan as if nothing had happened the previous night. Xuan didn't say much, but he felt slightly relieved that Yang and I dared to draw her sword when threatened by Xuan the night before. Later on, I'll assign her more land to plant more flowers and plants. Ever since that night with Xuan, Yang and I went to the outer sect every 2 days, under the pretext of looking for high-rank seed. Xuan's routine remained undisturbed, still traveling between the 3 medicine valleys. At the end of summer, Xuan arrived at Tian Valley. Luohan and Yi Luyun had gone out, taking 3 monkey demons with them, leaving only Xian in the medicine valley. A great cultivator's cave was discovered thousands of miles away, with many heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Yi Luyun took them to fetch them and won't be back for a few days. Xian came to Xuan and explained. His gaze was fixed on Xuan, burning brightly. Xuan nodded slightly, then turned to walk toward the garden. Who are you really, Xuan? Xian's voice came from behind, his tone different from usual, carrying intense hostility. Xuan stopped and turned to look at Xian, smiling. What kind of deity am I? I'm just an ordinary cultivator who loves planting. This guy wasn't acting right. Why did it feel like he had changed? Could it be that another remnant soul in his body had taken control? Xuan wondered, confused. Xian sneered, his face becoming ferocious. I only taught you a few times, yet your mastery of mystic tortoise surging wave palm has already surpassed my 10 years of hard practice. Xuan raised an eyebrow. He didn't expect that holding back intentionally would still be noticed by Xian. This was troublesome. Xian took a step forward, the aura of core formation realm 9th layer erupted, lifting the fallen leaves on the ground like a tornado rising into the sky, creating a grand scene. Though it was the 9th layer of the core formation realm cultivation level, it could already match the aura of the lower nascent soul realm. As expected of the Supreme Sect's former number 1 genius. I discovered that cave long ago, calculated the day you would come and sent them away in advance. Today, let's have a showdown. Xian sneered. His right palm began to accumulate spiritual power, the space under his palm fluctuating violently like surging waves. Xuan raised his hand and said, Don't mess around, I really am not a genius, why target me? I have no threat to you. If you mess around, I'll have to kill you. Xian licked his lips and said, Don't worry, I won't kill you, I just want to test your depth. If you continue to hide your strength, you'll suffer the same fate as Leah. At this remark, Xuan's gaze turned cold. Try my mystic tortoise surging wave palm. Xuan shouted, striking out with a palm. The palm wind swept out, shaking heaven and earth, and the wild wind rose from the ground, bringing overwhelming pressure toward Xuan, lifting the grass of the lawn, and filling the air with dust. Boom! The palm wind of the mystic tortoise surging wave palm soared into the sky, forming a nearly 100-zhang high airwave wall, spectacular beyond compare. Xuan's smile froze. Looking in the direction of his gaze, Xuan stood still behind the airwave, his palm power forcibly blocked. The medicinal herbs in all the gardens behind Xuan swayed in the wind but remained in the soil, untouched. At this moment, Xuan's face was expressionless, and his entire temperament suddenly changed, making Xuan feel unfamiliar. Xuan trembled in his voice, seeing Xuan step toward him. With just one step, Xuan crossed several zhang, arriving in front of him. Boom! Xuan's aura was directly dispersed. The terrifying power made him fall back, sitting paralyzed on the ground, without the demeanor of the top of the hidden dragon list. Xuan raised his right hand, looking down at him, his palm facing his head. Xuan was horrified to find himself unable to move, suppressed by an overwhelming spiritual power he could not resist. Divinity transformation, Xuan gritted his teeth. His judgment was correct, Xuan indeed suppressed his realm at the divinity transformation realm, enough to overshadow him easily. Why did you have to force me? Xuan looked down at Xuan and asked softly. The murderous intent in his eyes became tangible, making Xuan feel the breath of death. His expressionless face was so terrifying that Xuan had never seen such a frightening expression. Wait! Xuan quickly shouted, showing a panic-stricken look for the first time. Xuan just quietly looked down at him. Actually, Xuan didn't want to kill him. After all, Xuan was Baishan's son, and Xuan had no malice towards him, indicating he really just wanted to spar. To avoid being entangled, Xuan could only use the power of the divinity transformation realm to scare him to the core. I was wrong, don't kill me, Xuan gritted his teeth, lowering his proud head, not daring to look at Xuan. He was still paralyzed on the ground, unable to get up, and felt humiliated in this posture. But you've exposed my real cultivation level, and I'll definitely face endless trouble in the future. This makes me very troubled. I just want to plant my plants in peace, why do you have to force me, why? Xuan said coldly. By the end, his voice sounded like a low roar, his features contorting as if he were about to go insane. Xuan looked up, frightened by his hysterical expression, and quickly said, I will never tell. I swear. I promise. Xuan's right hand began to gather spiritual power, the terrifying power of the divinity transformation realm making Xuan shiver with fear. Wait, I know the whereabouts of an 8th-rank spirit flower. This flower has been maturing for hundreds of years and hasn't turned into a spirit yet. Don't you love planting flowers? You can go get it. Xuan said urgently, shaking with fear. Xuan's expression changed, squinting as he asked, where is it? Xuan felt the oppressive force weaken, hurriedly taking out a map from his storage bag. This is the map. I got it from an old senior when I participated in the 100 Clans assembly. Xuan took the map, glanced at it briefly, then put it into his storage bag. He looked back at Xuan, frowning, will you really not tell anyone? If I reveal your cultivation level, you'll suffer inner demon invasion during tribulation crossing and perish. Xuan immediately swore. Hearing this, Xuan retracted his aura, his cultivation level returning to the Foundation Establishment realm. The flowers in the Medicine Valley stopped swaying, and Xuan breathed a sigh of relief, sweating profusely and panting heavily. Xuan returned to his usual gentle expression. He pulled Xuan up, patted the dust off him. Brother pardon the offense. Promise me, don't make such jokes next time, it's not funny. Hearing this, Xuan forced a smile. Then, Xuan turned and left, heading for the garden. Watching his back, LV remained silent for a long time. Half an hour later, Xuan greeted LV before leaving. LV sat on the lawn, staring at the sun in the sky, dazed. Day turned to night, and for 2 consecutive days and nights, he did not get up. Until Luo Han, Yi Luyun, and the 3 monkey demons returned, chatting and laughing, obviously having had a great haul. Yi Luyun saw LV sitting dazed on the ground, smiled, and asked, "LV, why aren't you cultivating?" LV body trembled slightly. He turned to Yi Luyun and asked, "Do you think I can achieve divinity transformation before 100? He knew Xuan's age because Xuan was about the same age as Leah. If you hadn't wasted time before, you could definitely reach divinity transformation before 100. Unfortunately, you're already 90. It's hard to go from the 9th layer of the core formation realm to the 1st layer of the divinity transformation realm in 10 years, Luyun shook his head and said. Luo Han suggested, His Majesty values you so highly. Just ask, and he'll provide you with a large amount of elixir. LV remained silent. He fell into self-doubt, wondering if he really was not a genius. Chapter 109, Ancestor Tian, Heaven-Cutting Divine Axe. Since LV had been disciplined by Xuan, he thoroughly became honest. When Xuan went to Tian Valley again, LV was always in closed-door cultivation. Luo Han said he wanted to reach the divinity transformation realm as soon as possible. Xuan asked for the reason, but Luo Han said he didn't know. This made Xuan feel at ease. LV might be crazy, but he was tight-lipped. This matter passed. Xuan studied the map given by LV. It was too far from the Taicang dynasty, so he could only set it aside for now. What if that place had Mahayana cultivators? He couldn't take the risk. Now the lifespan income from the 3 medicine valleys was considerable. Even if he didn't improve, he could quickly expand his lifespan. In the blink of an eye. 2 months had passed. The autumnal scenery of withered yellow covered the mystic valley. On this day, near noon, Yilan came to visit her. Having not seen each other for nearly a year, Yilan missed Xuan a lot. As soon as she entered the room, she hugged him. Junior sister. Xuan said in a deep voice, with a tone of reproach. Yilan let go of him and laughed, saying, What's wrong with hugging? This is a ceremony for reunion after a long separation between senior and junior apprentices. Senior brother, don't think too much. I don't want any romantic affairs now, I just want to cultivate immortality. Xuan rolled his eyes at her and then turned to make her tea. He had just instinctively performed a lifespan detection on Yilan, which made him feel a bit heavy-hearted. Yilan, Foundation Establishment Realm 5th Layer 56/130/130. The regular lifespan for the Foundation Establishment Realm exceeded 200, but Yilan's Foundation Establishment was built up with Xuan's elixirs, so it had already reached its limit. What would happen when Yilan reached the age of 130? Would it be celestial decline and sudden death, or demonic possession, causing chi blood to attack the heart? Xuan sighed inwardly and decided to teach Yilan the Daoist expansion skill. With 74 years left, perhaps it could be effective. The Daoist expansion skill was a process of accumulating spiritual power. Xuan had a bold idea. What would happen when practicing the Daoist expansion skill while frantically consuming spirit energy elixirs? Yilan didn't know what her senior brother was thinking and began to narrate what she had seen and heard during her recent outing. The law enforcement hall went out to protect the Crown Prince Li Dai. The enemies were from the Ephemera sect. Over the past half year, she had experienced 7 or 8 battles and survived without danger. Xuan had known about this for a long time because he occasionally used his divine sense to check on her. The disciples of the law enforcement hall were basically scouts. The real fighters were several nascent soul realm cultivators. Senior brother, the reason we were able to come back was that a void crossing realm great cultivator came to protect the crown prince. Above the nascent soul realm is the divinity transformation, and above the divinity transformation is the void crossing realm. That senior was amazing. He killed the ephemera sex demon cultivator in the divinity transformation realm with one palm. At that time, we all thought we were doomed, but it turned out the crown prince had such a master behind him. They say he is not even a cultivator of the supreme sect. Yilan seemed very excited when she talked about the great cultivator in the void-crossing realm. Guan raised an eyebrow, pretending to be shocked. That powerful? How old is he? It said he's already 900 years old. Yilan said this while carefully observing Guan's expression. She once suspected Guan was Sword Venerable Fudao. During the outer sect chaos, her white spirit sword sensed the Qinghong sword. The words righteous path carved on the heavenly repair platform were also made by the Qinghong sword. However, after her research, she learned that Sword Venerable Fudao was at least a cultivation beyond the divinity transformation realm, which made her a bit hesitant. She had grown up with Guan and knew his age. A void-crossing realm in his tens of years? That was unheard of in the immortal cultivation world. Moreover, Guan never admitted that he was Sword Venerable Fudao, so she suspected he might be a disciple of Sword Venerable Fudao. Regardless of the situation, Yilan felt that she was unworthy of her senior brother. Therefore, she rarely expressed her feelings nowadays, focusing more energy on her cultivation. When her cultivation level was raised and her senior brother wanted a Taoist friend, that would be her chance. Guan sighed, "Junior sister, you're encountering cultivators of higher and higher realms now, but your own cultivation seems hard to improve. How about practicing my cultivation technique?" "What cultivation technique?" Yilan asked curiously. Guan's Gale Shadowless Leg was already her strongest combat means, so she didn't underestimate his cultivation techniques. Perhaps this technique was passed down by Sword Venerable Fudao. Guan began to introduce the Taoist expansion skill, and Yilan listened intently. When Guan finished, Yilan couldn't help but ask, "Senior brother, you possess so many medicinal herbs, but your cultivation hasn't improved much. Is it because of the Taoist expansion skill?" Guan nodded, "This is an ultimate skill. I'm only passing it on to you, so you must not tell anyone else." Hearing this, Yilan's heart sweetened. She hesitated, "If I practice the Taoist expansion skill, will it burden you more?" She understood that Guan would continuously provide her with elixirs to aid her cultivation, which would inevitably delay his own cultivation. Guan laughed, "If you're worried, don't practice. Just wait until your lifespan runs out, and your senior brother will live for another few hundred years. By then, I can take several junior sisters and enjoy the bliss of having many companions." "No, I'll practice," Yilan said, glaring. Guan immediately took out the already written Taoist expansion skill and handed it to her. After accepting the Taoist expansion skill, Yilan took out a black wood box from her storage bag. "This is a gift prepared for you. I planned to give it after our conversation, but you gave me the cultivation technique first, which makes my sentiments seem inadequate." Guan took the black wood box and smiled, "Junior sister, what are you talking about? You've given me so many good things over the years. You are undoubtedly the best to me." The 6-layer human face tree was given by Yilan. Besides, she brought various medicinal herbs every time she visited Guan. Guan had also declined, but Yilan convinced him by repaying the elixir's kindness. Rejecting more would seem uncaring, so now the two of them exchanged gifts and were both happy about it. Upon hearing Guan's words, Yilan smiled and introduced, "This is a dark vine, probably at the 5th layer, though it's just a small section. It requires planting for a dozen or so years to fully rejuvenate. Once grown, it can guard the house and block divine sense." Guan opened it and saw a piece of something resembling black coal, with faint vitality. He wasn't disappointed. Yilan's cultivation was limited, so obtaining this remnant was already good. The previous human face tree was also just a root, now recovering vitality. Then, Yilan continued to talk about the events in the immortal cultivation world during this period. Guan listened attentively, enjoying his time. Recently, a group of mysterious cultivators emerged in the immortal cultivation world, known as 9 Nether 13 Evil. They broke into Xuan's sect, seized Xuan's sect's treasure, and left. Their strength shocked the immortal cultivation world. Besides, another major event was the ancient Sky sect nurturing a holy beast Sky Dragon. The whole sect was invigorated, and various states discussed it, claiming the ancient sky sect was rising. The holy beast was none other than the sky dragon Xuan raised. He had previously checked on the ancient sky sect, and seeing the sky dragon being well taken care of, he didn't worry. According to Yilan, the immortal cultivation world was relatively peaceful. The ephemera sect had also settled down, no longer fighting to death with the demon path. But Xuan knew this was just the calm before the storm. When the great cultivators of the ephemera sect main lineage arrived, the immortal cultivation world would again be engulfed in a bloody storm. In the depths of night, the North Sea mountain range, spiritual energy began to descend, disturbing all beings once again. Xuan was meditating within a barrier, enjoying the improvement in his cultivation. He had spent 3,000 years of life to reach the 9th layer of the Mahayana realm. After a short hour passed, he invested another 50,000 years of life into alchemy. Previously, he intended to improve his alchemy skills on his own, but later realized alchemy also required talent. Investing 50,000 years of life elevated his alchemy to the Taicang elixir path, greatly enhancing his comprehension of alchemy. A vast amount of knowledge surged into his mind, and he immersed himself in it. The alchemy he practiced was the basic alchemy of the supreme sect. Different sects' alchemy had differences, resulting in diverse elixir paths. The Taicang elixir path included a spell named Taicang True Fire, helping better in alchemy and capable of killing enemies. These 50,000 years of life were well spent. When Xuan woke up, he lifted his right hand, and a blue flame ignited on his fingertip, a smile appearing on his lips. He then looked at his attribute panel, still having 490,000 years of life, feeling exceedingly wealthy. He closed the lifespan barrier and stood up, preparing to leave. His gaze suddenly fell on the nearby mountain wall. Because of the disturbance caused by the descending spiritual energy, the weeds in front of the mountain wall were tilted in all directions. Upon closer inspection, there was a crack from which strands of spiritual energy leaked, and this spiritual energy was unusual, not the common 5-element spiritual energy. He immediately walked over, arriving before the mountain wall, and infused his divine sense into it. Soon, his divine sense encountered a restriction. Breaking through required at least void-crossing realm cultivation. He instantly understood and didn't forcibly break the restriction. Instead, he used the 9 extremes yin-yang body, turning into a demonic shadow and stepping forward with limitless freedom step, crossing in one step. Passing through layers of restrictions, he reached a spacious underground area. This space was larger than the 8 scenic caves. In the center, there was an underground lake with a grassland about 300 meters long and 100 meters wide beside it, along with a row of old trees. Under one of the old trees stood a dilapidated wooden house. His divine sense didn't detect any cultivator or demon presence, yet the underground lake had many fish, even one 2 meters long, resembling a spirit beast. Xuan walked forward and passed a stele with 4 large characters inscribed on it. Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion. The spiritual energy here was abundant, even stronger than the 8 scenic caves. He performed a lifespan detection on the row of trees. They were all 6-layer spirit trees, named heart-clearing trees. Excellent. Xuan was suddenly delighted. If no one lived here, it could become his 4th Medicine Valley. The Mystic Valley, 3rd Medicine Valley, and Tian Valley were under others' watchful eyes. His treasures were all kept in the 8 scenic caves, but the space there was limited. Xuan reached the wooden house, where there was a stone table covered in moss, with 2 books lying on it. One was a nameless book, and the other a secret book. Heaven-Cutting Divine Axe. What a domineering name. Xuan picked up the nameless book and started reading. It was a testament left by the owner of the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion. The mansion owner was known as Ancestor Tian, and surprisingly, he was a mystic heart realm cultivator. Xuan read on, frowning slightly. Ancestor Tian was actually a supreme elder of the supreme sect. After leaving the supreme sect, he established the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion here, intending to seek enlightenment. Later, he experienced deviation and, before his death, decided to leave the cave mansion and head towards the demon land beyond the 9 dynasties. The heaven-cutting divine axe was Ancestor Xuan Tian's ultimate skill, inherited from the Holy Land, one of the Holy Land's 9 great inheritances. Chapter 110, 9 Styles of Heaven Cutting. The breath from afar, bitterly contemplating for 800 years, swallowing countless elixirs, finally achieving mystic heart realm, but unable to escape the heart demon tribulation at the end of life. I hate. Xuan recited a passage from the nameless book, furrowing his brows. The hatred of Ancestor Xuan Tian leaped off the page. It was a hatred towards the heavens. He hated that after achieving mystical heart realm, he was struck by heart demons before he could enjoy it. After reading, Xuan immediately thought of the limit of lifespans. In the vast universe, it seemed like a certain fate bound all beings. The lifespan limit of Ancestor Xuan Tian might only have been enough to barely reach the unification realm, but with vast resources, he forcibly achieved the mystic heart realm, yet his lifespan did not extend, ultimately facing heart demons and the calamity of death. The more Xuan thought, the more plausible it seemed. For all beings cultivating to immortality, it was less a struggle against the heavens than a struggle against destiny. Xuan believed that fate could certainly be broken. He himself was the best example. The lifespan limit he perceived might just be a reminder of the existence of fate. Besides his ability to seize lifespans, there must be other opportunities in this world to help break the lifespan limit. He just hadn't found them yet. Because achieving eternal life was so difficult, that's why so many people sacrificed themselves without regret. Let's see if the Taoist expansion skill worked. If it did, he could potentially use part of his lifespan to enhance the Taoist expansion skill. Xuan felt hopeful, because Wuxin's lifespan far exceeded that of others in the same realm. He continued to read further, finding records of Ancestor Xuan Tian's life events, from joining the supreme sect to competing for the position of sect leader. It read like a novel, with the brief descriptions sparking endless imagination. After finishing the testament, he threw the book into his storage bag, then picked up the heaven-cutting divine axe secret book to check. He became increasingly engrossed, as if a figure wielding a great axe danced in his pupils. The heaven-cutting divine axe had 9 forms in total: severing life, severing demons, severing ghosts, severing mountains, severing seas, severing magic, severing immortals, severing gods, severing heaven. It sounded domineering, but he wondered if it could really sever immortals and heavens. The 9 forms were not 9 levels but 9 techniques. Ancestor Xuan Tian had mastered all 9 forms and faced no adversary before his deviation. He swept through the 9 realms of the immortal cultivation world, establishing the supreme sect's renown. However, he didn't leave the heaven-cutting divine axe at the supreme sect because it was a Holy Land's legacy, not to be passed on to others. If discovered by the Holy Land, his cultivation level would be abolished, a point specially noted in his testament. After skimming through, Xuan threw the secret book into the storage bag. He turned and walked into the dilapidated wooden house. Everything inside was old and worn, the floor covered in weeds, with an axe standing in the center, covered in dust. He walked over to the axe and blew gently, causing the dust to instantly vanish, revealing a black axe. The heaven-cutting axe, a supreme-grade magic artifact, also forged from North Sea nether iron, and it was millions of years old, heavier and capable of withstanding more spiritual power than Li Ya's North Sea heavy sword. Xuan grasped the heaven-cutting axe, raising an eyebrow. It was heavy. Despite being a Mahayana cultivator and having cultivated the primordial Rui skill with immense chi force, even he could feel the weight, showing just how heavy this heaven-cutting axe was. There was no need to use the techniques of the heaven-cutting divine axe. It felt like just smashing someone with it could crush them. When Xuan lifted the heaven-cutting axe, it seemed light in his serious grip. He wielded it with ease. He considered putting this treasure into the storage bag, but it was repelled by the bag's spatial restriction. It wouldn't fit. Interesting. Xuan immediately put down the heaven-cutting axe and examined the surroundings, finding nothing else of value in the house. Immediately, he stepped outside the mystic heaven cave mansion, sealing the crack on the mountain wall. Being a 5 elements treasure body now, he had perfect earth attribute aptitude, capable of condensing spiritual power into earth. After completely sealing the crack, Xuan felt relieved. From now on, this would be his cave mansion. Guan felt joyful, his lips curved upwards, stepping into the mystic heaven cave mansion once again. Preparing the land. Late autumn, in the third medicine valley, the disciples were sweeping fallen leaves. Lu Lingjun suddenly looked towards the sky, seeing a figure swiftly approaching. She frowned slightly, secretly startled. 9th level of the Unification Realm. The newcomer was LV Badian. LV Badian quickly arrived at the pavilion where Guan lived, then stepped onto the stairs. Lu Lingjun withdrew her gaze, curious about the person's identity. Despite many visits to the Third Medicine Valley, LV Badian had never revealed his true identity. When talking to An Hao and An Xian, he was always said to be a senior of the sect. Entering the house, LV Badian closed the door and set a restriction, making it impossible to eavesdrop. Guan put down the book in his hand and smiled. Sect leader, why are you here? He stood up to make tea. No need to bother, sit down, let's chat. LV Badian waved his hand, walked to the table, raised his hand to pull over a chair, and sat down. Guan followed and sat down, asking, what do you want to chat about? What could I chat with you about? Not about taking in disciples again. Guan secretly complained, as a dignified Mahayan-level cultivator, it was impossible for him to take a master. Let's talk about Li Xiandao. LV Badian said, staring at Guan. Guan asked in surprise, what happened to him? Crown Prince Li Dai had his golden core dug out, his nascent soul and cultivation level were abolished, and a void-crossing realm cultivator protecting him also perished. LV Badian's words moved Guan. He was genuinely a bit surprised. Right after the Supreme Sect's law enforcement hall left, Li Xiandao made a move. Just entering the void-crossing realm and able to kill someone at the same level? Quite impressive. Methods of void-crossing realm great cultivators varied widely, even facing the same level, escaping should not be difficult. Don't look at Guan easily killing void-crossing realm cultivators. He did so by suppressing his higher realm to a lower realm, giving enemies no time to escape. LV Badian asked, does Li Xiandao have a void-crossing realm cultivator beside him? Guan helplessly said, if there is, I can't see it either. LV Badian paused, finding it reasonable, his expression easing. With the Crown Prince dead, Supreme Sect can only support Leah. The throne must be held by a prince of the Supreme Sect. Unfortunately, Leah has been away for years. LV Badian sighed. If not for the impending attack by the Ephemera Sect, would have already abolished Li Xiandao. Guan asked curiously, why abolish him? LV Badian said, he has been emperor for nearly 200 years, Taicang world is in turmoil, plagued by evil spirits, with widespread grievances, changing the emperor to worship the heavens might reverse the Qi fortune, yet he has roped in several elders from the Hall of Elders, making it difficult for me to force him to abdicate, and by the time I recovered my cultivation level, the Ephemera Sect arrived. It's been endless trouble. Speaking of the Ephemera Sect, he grew visibly annoyed. Guan couldn't tell if he truly cared about the people, or simply disliked Li Xiandao. Both provided high-rank medical herbs to Guan, so he couldn't take sides and could only watch their struggle from the sidelines. Li Xiandao indeed had great means, keeping a cultivator at the 9th level of the Unification Realm hesitant to act, while rapidly growing. If LV Badian knew Li Xiandao was already at the void-crossing realm, he would probably go to kill Li Xiandao now. LV Badian began to discuss the Ephemera Sect, revealing that the Venerable Pavilion had collected numerous clues about the sect. Shockingly, there were multiple spies from the Ephemera Sect within the Hall of Elders. This greatly incensed LV Badian, having just cleared out a batch of Demon Path spies years ago. He never expected there to be this most hated Ephemera Sect spies left. I received intelligence that the Ephemera Sect hierarch Zhong Liang died, killed by someone unknown, and now the Ephemera Sect is behaving quietly, awaiting the arrival of head lineage cultivators, suspecting I killed Zhong Liang. Laughable, I suspect internal conflict among themselves. LV Badian sneered. Guan curiously asked, why are the Ephemera Sect and Demon Path battles concentrated in the North Sea Mountain? LV Badian replied, because most Ephemera Sect high-level members are in the North Sea Mountain, seeking a fortuitous opportunity related to our sect. What opportunity? We had a supreme elder 1,000 years ago who attained path enlightenment in the North Sea Mountain, surpassing the unification realm, and then disappeared. However, legends noted that he left behind the sect's supreme treasure, the heaven-cutting axe, which cannot be placed into storage Dharma artifacts, involved in a significant legacy the ephemera sect has been seeking. As expected, Xuan was secretly pleased. After years of searching, the ephemera sect still hadn't found it, yet he stumbled upon it unintentionally. It seems suppressing spiritual energy was not without benefits. The heaven-cutting axe is not simple, it is said to be related to the Holy Land. In 3,000 years, only that Supreme Elder had inherited such a high-level legacy from the Holy Land. He was also my martial master. LV Badian said with emotion. Ancestor Tian was indeed extraordinary. Xuan thought of the weight of the heaven-cutting axe, finding it reasonable. LV Badian clearly revered Ancestor Tian, recounting his deeds. Though he had never met Ancestor Tian, he often heard his master mention him. His master said Ancestor Tian never tasted defeat, able to carve a path through any number of enemies, even venturing south for adventures, purportedly obtaining immortal sorcery before returning to retreat. However, Xuan knew Ancestor Tian never obtained immortal sorcery. He had roamed the sea for years, nearly killed by the Demon King, forced to flee back, hoping to reach Mystic Heart Realm and venture again. Unfortunately, he never succeeded before death. Xuan suddenly thought of the true inheritor's outside training. He might have also gone to the sea. It was said the true inheritor was more formidable than LV Badian, likely reaching the Mystic Heart Realm. However, when Xuan mentioned the true inheritor, LV Badian grew displeased, not wanting to discuss it further. Clearly, their relationship was poor. As LV Badian spoke, he suddenly halted. Xuan felt a strong aura approaching from the north, but he feigned ignorance, as LV Badian was present. LV Badian turned, looking towards the sky outside the window, muttering, "Has it finally come?" Xuan confusedly asked, "What has come?" LV Badian stood, saying, "Nothing, I have matters to attend to." He quickly left. Xuan hurriedly rose to see him off, escorting him to the entrance. Xuan noticed Lu Lingjun sensing the distant strong aura, frowning deeply. Feeling Xuan's gazes, Lu Lingjun glanced at him, then resumed sweeping. Xuan looked in the direction LV Badian left, wondering, what was the origin of that aura? It didn't feel like a cultivator's aura, it had an indescribable odd feeling. Chapter 111, The Attack of the Mystic Heart. The sky was cloudless for miles, and below, a vast barren plain stretched endlessly. Cracks crisscrossed the earth, which, upon closer inspection, were canyons. In a flat expanse of this barren land, a massive plume of dark energy hovered, resembling a rift. At the base of the dark energy was a circular array platform with a diameter exceeding 3 zhang. It was engraved with complex and profound runes, and spiritual energy surged, causing them to emit a faint sheen. In front of the array platform, a group of ephemera sect cultivators stood waiting. Their numbers exceeded 1,000, and among them were Jiang Qiong and Su Han. At the forefront stood an old man in a gray robe, holding a wooden staff. His back was hunched as he gazed expectantly at the black energy in the sky. Ephemera sect main branch. Jiang Qiong watched the spatial disturbances within the dark energy, feeling very tense. Having joined the ephemera sect for a while, she had come to understand it deeply. The ephemera sect in the 9 dynasties territory was merely a branch and could not be compared to the main branch. Suddenly, a flash of lightning burst out from the dark energy, followed by expansion, revealing an expanse of dark red sky inside, with faint billows of ominous clouds. The old man in the gray robe suddenly knelt down and loudly exclaimed, "Welcome, Lord of the Main Branch." As he knelt, the other ephemera sect cultivators followed suit, repeating his words in unison. The 1,000 voices combined into a deafening roar. Under everyone's gaze, a figure emerged from the dark energy, stepping out with his back towards the dark red sky. This was a man dressed in a tight purple robe, with a gold-trimmed red scarf around his waist. His robe was adorned with images of ephemera flowers, and the back was embroidered with an ephemera tree. His face was handsome, his expression aloof, and his snow-white hair was coiled under a purple jade crown set with a red gemstone that resembled a sinister eye at a glance. With his hands behind his back, he looked down at the cult, slowly saying, "Who is Elder Chi-Han?" The old man in the gray robe quickly answered, reporting to the Lord, "That would be me." The man in the purple robe maintained his lofty stance, not deigning to descend. He calmly said, "Find someone to lead me to the Supreme Sect, the rest of you stay here and wait for the main branch to arrive." Chi-Han Elder asked excitedly, "Are more seniors from the main branch coming?" "Yes, it's time for the ephemera to bloom." The mysterious aura was too far from the Supreme Sect, beyond even the range of divine sense of those in the Mahayana realm. Xuan did not act rashly. His intuition told him that the aura was related to the main branch of the ephemera sect. Without knowing the strength of the main branch of the ephemera sect, he wouldn't act on impulse. Although from Zhongliang and Su Shan's memories, it seemed the ephemera sect was waiting for great cultivators of the mystic heart realm, with Xuan's extermination of the ephemera tree, the situation might change. What if more than one great cultivator of the mystic heart realm arrived? Moreover, the Supreme Sect was deeply rooted and might not need his intervention. Perhaps the Supreme Elder would return. Leaving aside the Supreme Elder, the Ji family and Gu family also had unfathomable depths. Xuan searched the Taicang dynasty with his divine sense but couldn't find the main families of these two houses, likely hidden within minor heaven and earth realms. In this world, there existed multiple minor heavens and earths, akin to innate spatial restrictions, or as one might describe using earthly terms, alternate dimensions. The day after Liu Beidian left, the atmosphere in the Supreme Sect became tense. Numerous core formation realm and nascent soul realm cultivators flew over the Third Medicine Valley towards the outer sect. Even the 9 geniuses cultivating in the Medicine Valley were summoned, bidding farewell to Xuan. Every disciple had their own identity token, and the Supreme Sect could use these tokens to transmit orders to everyone, including those on missions outside. Xiao Xuan approached Xuan nervously and asked, "Senior brother, what happened this time? Could it be the ephemera sect attacking?" Every time he visited the outer gate city, he heard other disciples discussing the ephemera sect. The ephemera sect had swept through the demon paths undefeated and had caused significant trouble for the Supreme Sect 200 years ago, making all disciples feel threatened. "I don't know. Don't overthink it. Our task is to grow medicinal herbs. If a battle truly breaks out, we wouldn't be of much use anyway. Trust in the sect." Xuan reassured him. Xiao Xuan found this reasonable but still couldn't stop his thoughts from drifting to the outer sect. Xuan turned and left to harvest the matured herbs. Even if the sky were to fall, the Supreme Sect would bear it first. Harvesting herbs and flowers was the top priority. An ancient hour later, Xuan returned to the pavilion and drew the Qinghong sword, starting to swing it. He rarely practiced swordsmanship, attracting the attention of many disciples who thought he sensed the crisis and followed his example, beginning to practice their own spells. Lu Lingjun also glanced at Xuan, shaking her head involuntarily. Xuan's sword moves were very strange, looking more like axe techniques than swordsmanship to her. Perhaps the Valley Master was just soothing his nervous emotions. After watching for a bit, Lu Lingjun turned and walked toward a distant mountain to get a better view of the outer sect and understand the situation more clearly. Xuan wasn't truly practicing swordsmanship but rather the heaven-cutting divine axe technique. He purposefully used a sword to avoid drawing attention, as the heaven-cutting divine axe hadn't left any legacy in the Supreme Sect, so no one knew how to use it. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. On this day, after settling matters at Mystic Valley, Xuan went to the Third Medicine Valley to continue harvesting herbs. The Third Medicine Valley covered an area of 100 miles, with so many herbs that some matured every day. Xuan would leave some each time he harvested to ensure a stable source of lifespan income. The herbs didn't lose their effectiveness for several months after maturing. After gaining 5,000 years of lifespan, Xuan had a servant disciple deliver the herbs to the storage building and then sought out Lu Lingjun. "I plan to visit the outer sect. Do you want to come?" Xuan asked. Lu Lingjun had previously mentioned she wanted to join him on his next trip to the outer sect. Of course, a deeper reason was that he wanted to bring another powerful ally to the Supreme Sect. Lu Lingjun agreed immediately, nodding as she had been eager to see the commotion after 3 days of watching. Thus, Guan and Lu Lingjun headed to the outer sect. Upon arrival, Guan agreed to meet Lu Lingjun at the heavenly repair platform in the evening and then went his own way. So considerate, Lu Lingjun thought as she watched Guan's back. She turned to look at the sky above the South City Gate, where numerous great cultivators hovered. Each one had a large banner behind them, numbering 1,000, surrounding the entire outer sect city. The cultivation level of these people was at least nascent soul realm. One city of the outer sect boasted so many high-level cultivators. Lu Lingjun had used her divine sense to check the other cities, finding similar situations, marveling at the depth of the Supreme Sect's power. With the current strength displayed by the Supreme Sect, she believed it could easily sweep through the mortal world she came from. Meanwhile, Guan found Zhenqin of the Law Enforcement Hall. The Law Enforcement Hall hadn't been assigned combat duties but was patrolling the city to prevent ephemera sect cultivators from infiltrating. Guan pulled Zhenqin to the side of the street, retrieved a Daoist expansion skill from his storage bag, and handed it to her, saying, "Keep this well and train hard with it when you return. Don't tell anyone, not even Marshal Uncle Yi." Zhenqin glanced at it and saw it was a cultivation technique, instantly excited and nodding quickly. She knew Guan's status in the inner sect with Medicine Valley was far above hers, and whatever he gave her would be exceptional. She had been struggling to advance her cultivation level for years despite practicing Jiang Qiong's technique. After a brief chat, the two parted ways. Guan didn't seek out Yilan as she was attending an outer sect meeting at the Great Elder's residence. The entire Supreme Sect was on high alert for battle. Guan chose this day to visit the outer sect city because he sensed an aura exceeding the unification realm entering the Taicang dynasty, approaching the Supreme Sect. Mystic Heart Realm. The pace was not fast, as someone was guiding, or perhaps he was exerting pressure on the Supreme Sect, flaunting his powerful aura. Even Divinity Transformation Realm and Void Crossing Realm cultivators could feel it, which explained the tense atmosphere of the Supreme Sect. Guan didn't plan to take action rashly, he wanted to gauge the sect's resilience. Not every enemy should rely on him to resolve. While killing cultivators could grant him lifespan, it wasn't much different from harvesting herbs in value, so he wasn't eager for combat. Of course, if many enemies showed up, he wouldn't mind claiming some kills. Guan walked to the heavenly repair platform, standing behind the ghost mother of ephemera, pretending to sense the sword intent on the platform. "Gu Xiaoyu, what brings you here?" a voice called out, and the mad swordsman of Great Yu, Han Ming, approached with a smile. He walked behind the ghost mother of ephemera, exchanging pleasantries with Guan. The ghost mother of ephemera remained unresponsive, her eyes closed. Despite the impending battle, there were still hundreds of cultivators on the platform seeking enlightenment. Han Ming, at the 5th level of the Void Crossing Realm, didn't realize the female disciple meditating beside him was an old monster of the 2nd level of the Unification Realm. After exchanging a few polite words, Guan curiously asked, "With the ephemera sect attacking, why haven't you left? Aren't you afraid of getting caught in the crossfire?" "The ephemera sect is nothing. They have lost to the Supreme Sect before and will likely lose again. The Supreme Sect has too many great cultivators and old monsters. You can watch the battle and learn more about the sect's strength," Han Ming chuckled. His words piqued Guan's curiosity even more, leading him to ask about the powerful cultivators in the Supreme Sect. Han Ming shared what he knew, drawing the attention of nearby disciples who couldn't resist eavesdropping. 90% of the Supreme Sect disciples were unaware of the full extent of the sect's strength due to its enormity. The ghost mother of ephemera seemed disturbed, stood up and prepared to move. Guan deliberately turned his back on her, pretending to retreat naturally and bumped into her. Realizing he had bumped into someone, Guan immediately apologized, "Miss, I'm sorry." The ghost mother of ephemera frowned but shook her head slightly, saying nothing. She walked past Guan. "Stop." Han Ming's voice suddenly rang out, his gaze fixed on the ghost mother of ephemera. The ghost mother of ephemera halted. Curious looks surrounded them as Han Ming was a prominent figure on the heavenly repair platform, and his actions drew attention. Guan quickly said, "It's my fault, I accidentally bumped into her." Han Ming ignored Guan, his gaze locked on the ghost mother's back, speaking coldly. Who, exactly, are you? Although you hid it well, I sensed a momentary release of your aura. You're not human, you're a ghost, aren't you? A ghost? The words caused the surrounding disciples to rise, some even drawing their magic artifacts. Guan looked at the ghost mother of Ephemera in shock and stepped aside. The ghost mother turned, her gaze ignoring Guan, coldly fixed on Han Ming. You're not a member of the Supreme Sect, so why interfere? Chapter 112, Unparalleled Battle, Path Enlightenment. In the painting, I received guidance from Sword Venerable Fudao, so naturally, I must repay the favor. Besides, the Supreme Sect has treated me well these past years. Han Ming responded firmly, taking out the sword box from his back, ready to fight. At that moment, 3 figures appeared out of thin air around the ghost mother of Ephemera. All 3 were great cultivators of the void-crossing realm, specifically stationed at the heavenly repair platform. The ghost mother of Ephemera, at the unification realm, did not fear them. She shook her head slightly, muttering to herself, so troublesome, but it's almost enough. She suddenly transformed into a wisp of ghostly chi, disappearing into thin air. The 3 great cultivators of the void-crossing realm followed, vanishing from their original spot. Guan could sense them moving towards the outer sect, chasing her into the distance. Han Ming did not pursue. Revealing the ghost mother of Ephemera's identity was already good enough. The chase was the Supreme Sect's responsibility. He turned to look at the still frightened Guan and comforted him. Don't worry, that ghost should not come back after escaping. Guan nodded, but could not help glancing around, as if afraid there were other ghosts nearby. One must fully commit to acting. Han Ming walked up to him, patted his shoulder, and pulled him over to Xuan, then began recounting his experiences of slaying demons and ghosts. Guan thought it was bad luck. The act had gone too far, and it was hard to leave now. He had no choice but to listen to Han Ming's bragging. Xuan, who rarely saw Guan, was in a good mood. The two whispered, causing Han Ming to angrily growl. The matter of the ghost mother of Ephemera was just an interlude. Guan had been waiting for his lifespan warning. As long as an enemy warning appeared, the ghost mother of Ephemera would not live past today. Fortunately, no warning appeared, indicating the ghost mother did not suspect him. Of course, it was also possible that the ghost mother of Ephemera had no malicious intent for coming to the Supreme Sect. She had been here for years without causing trouble. She hadn't participated in the chaos caused by the underworld demon emperor before. Now, the great cultivator of the mystic heart realm from the Ephemera sect was approaching. If the ghost mother of Ephemera had any ill intent, she could have started a massacre and cooperated with that mystic heart realm cultivator. Could it be that the ghost mother of Ephemera had no connection with the Ephemera sect? Guan, while listening to Han Ming brag, thought silently. Under the blue sky, the autumn landscape of withered yellow covered the mountains and rivers. On each peak stood various figures. LV Badian and Tian were there too. There were 32 people, all great cultivators of the Supreme Sect, each exuding an extraordinary aura. Tian stood beside LV Badian, asking in a low voice, "Has the opponent surpassed the unification realm?" LV Badian looked into the distance with a serious expression, stating, "He must have surpassed it. His aura is far beyond mine, vast and boundless, and it doesn't seem like a recent breakthrough." Mystic Heart Realm. Tian's face darkened. In the distance, other great cultivators of the Supreme Sect could also hear LV Badian's words. Their expressions were equally heavy, but no one was afraid. So what if he's in the Mystic Heart Realm? With so many of us in the Unification Realm joining forces, we may still be able to fight, a short elder snorted coldly. Exactly, what is there to fear? The Ji family also has great cultivators rushing over. The Ephemera sect will meet their demise no matter how many they send. It's a pity that our Gu family ancestors' whereabouts are unknown. Otherwise, inviting him would eliminate any risk. Ancestors are like that, they can't be summoned so easily. True, among the supreme elderly of the sect, some might be in the Mystic Heart Realm. However, those who have reached that stage seek immortal fate and cherish their remaining years without staying here. The other great cultivators of the unification realm discussed animatedly. Most of them spent many years in seclusion or training outside. It was a rare reunion for these individuals who seldom showed up in the supreme sect. Tian took out a bottle of elixir from his storage ring and directly poured it into his mouth. Immediately, his complexion began to recover, with wisps of burning heat emanating from his body. Other great cultivators also took out elixirs and magic artifacts. Some even started setting up formations. The world grew silent, anticipating the outbreak of the grand battle. So many great cultivators in the unification realm, truly befitting a 1,000-year-old great sect. A light chuckle echoed through the sky, causing everyone's expressions to change. This voice belonged to the man in the purple robe from the main lineage of the ephemera sect. Though he had not yet arrived, his laughter brought immense pressure to the great cultivators of the unification realm. In the outer gate city, Xuan descended from the heavenly repair platform, letting out a long breath. Han Ming is too damn boastful. Had Xuan not mentioned urgent business, he would still be stuck listening to Han Ming's legendary tales. Even Xuan, who enjoyed chatting, couldn't handle it. Primarily because with Han Ming, it was all one-sided talking with no interesting content. After leaving the heavenly repair platform, Xuan planned to find an inn in the city to drink and then watch the battle. After taking a few steps, deafening roars echoed from the horizon. 5 breaths later, a fierce wind surged, causing the outer gate's formation to manifest. Xuan quickened his pace, afraid of missing the fight. He jogged to his usual inn, ordered wine and meat from the waiter. Due to the supreme sect preparing for battle, there were only 2 or 3 patrons in the inn, each sitting at separate tables. Xuan sat by the window, his gaze directed to the horizon as his divine sense stretched across the distance to lock onto the battlefield. 32 great cultivators of the unification realm besieged a mystic heart realm cultivator. The scene was incredibly magnificent, earth-shaking, and within thousands of miles, the forests quickly turned to ruins. Xuan began to enjoy the visual feast, a battle rarely seen in hundreds of years. Even if he chose to fight, he hardly got to witness such battles. If he couldn't easily crush the opponent, he wouldn't bother fighting. The mystic heart realm was undoubtedly formidable, far beyond the unification realm. That purple-robed man single-handedly suppressed the 32 great cultivators of the supreme sect with unrivaled dominance. Xuan noticed a familiar figure atop a mountain 1,000 miles away from the battlefield. Xuan. It was Xuan who led the purple-robed man. Xuan had sensed this earlier and now felt dissatisfied seeing that Xuan hadn't fled. This guy isn't afraid of being shattered. Having saved Xuan before, Xuan decided not to save him again in the future. A master like him had done enough. Even if Xuan were to be killed today, he wouldn't intervene. Then, Xuan focused solely on the battle. Shortly after, a waiter started serving wine and dishes. Xuan had just taken 2 sips when a voice remarked, "You're actually drinking here." Shenzhen. Xuan ignored her. Lately, Shenzhen's supreme secret records were getting so exaggerated that even he couldn't resist reading them. It tarnished Xuan's name. Undoubtedly, in the supreme sect, there must be other people named Xuan, likely resenting Shenzhen intensely. Shenzhen sat directly across from him, wearing a veil that attracted even more attention. The inn's patrons couldn't help but glance at her. A grand battle is about to start, and this one might be fiercer than the previous righteous demonic battle. I plan to paint the entire process. Why don't we do it together? Let me tell you, I recently gained some insights from my past paintings, so I might achieve enlightenment through my art. Shenzhen spoke with a tone of pride when mentioning her path enlightenment. She had specifically sought out Xuan, tracking him from the 3rd Medicine Valley to this place. Xuan replied, "Forget it, I won't participate. It's too dangerous. With my level of cultivation, I'd easily be reduced to ashes near the battlefield." "No worries, I'll protect you." "What is your cultivation level? Can you even protect me?" "At least I'm in the core formation realm." Core formation realm in such a battlefield is just cannon fodder. When hit by the battle's aftershocks, you'd only convulse a bit longer than I would. Sign it, okay, that makes some sense. Shenzhen glared before pouring herself a bowl of wine. She gazed into the distance, her expression growing more alarmed with the intensifying battle aura. What kind of fight could cause such a huge commotion? Guan enjoyed the spectacle with his divine sense. LV Badian was indeed strong, clearly on a different level from other great cultivators. Ji Tian was also impressive, with his Qilin step nearly perfected, being one of the few cultivators able to approach the purple-robed man. However, the fight had barely begun, yet most Supreme Sect cultivators were already injured to varying degrees. Some were even blasted to pieces, with only their primordial spirits left to form ranks from afar. The purple-robed man wielded several magic artifacts, holding a long spear imbued with immense power, effectively dominating the battlefield. Guan thought this man hadn't even used his full strength. At this rate, the Supreme Sect side would face complete annihilation. Sigh. It's no good, I have to step in. To ensure better prospects for his stay, Guan had to prevent the Supreme Sect from losing so many great cultivators, unless an enemy appeared that even he couldn't handle. In that case, he would just flee. Guan stood up and said, Ms. Shen, I need to step out for a moment. I'll come back and find you later. Stay here and don't leave. Without waiting for Shenzhen's response, Guan quickly exited the inn. Shenzhen wasn't suspicious, being more curious about the distant battle than Guan. Guan swiftly walked several streets before making sure no divine sense was locking onto him. Then, employing the limitless freedom step, he moved beyond the outer gate. After 5 steps, he entered the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion. Entering a wooden house, he picked up the heaven-cutting axe, and dark purple demonic chi began to ooze from him. 9 extremes yin-yang body. His right foot lifted, disappearing within the cave mansion. The next moment, he stood atop a mountain 1,000 miles away from the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion. Guan waved the heaven-cutting axe in his hand, recalling the techniques of the heaven-cutting divine axe in his mind. Forget it. To kill him, do I even need techniques? Guan immediately headed towards the battlefield with the heaven-cutting axe in hand. He planned to use Ancestor Xian Tian's identity to kill the enemy, ensuring the news of the Supreme Sect's ancestor returning would spread across the immortal cultivation world. By then, anyone in the 9 dynasties who wanted to oppose the Supreme Sect would have to think twice. Meanwhile, in the Taicang dynasty. Boom! Mountains shattered, dust flying everywhere. Another great cultivator of the unification realm fell, his life or death unknown. In mid-air, Ji Tian and 2 great cultivators from the Ji family manifested the heavenly dragon demon-suppressing form to restrain the purple-robed man. All 3 panted heavily, their spiritual power nearly exhausted. From all directions, golden dragon shadows assaulted, as the purple-robed man stood proud in the air, a golden halo hovering behind his head, radiating brilliant light. Any dragon shadow approaching within 10 feet of him was dispersed by an invisible force. The heavenly dragon demon-suppressing form is indeed a marvelous divine skill. Considering you are from the Ji family, I can spare your lives. But if you persist in being obstinate, don't blame me for disregarding the Ji family's dignity. The purple-robed man's cold voice was laced with intense killing intent, no longer retaining his previous disdainful, teasing demeanor. Chapter 113. You are not Ancestor Xian Tian, who are you? Facing the threat from the man in the purple robe, the 3 great cultivators of the Ji family remained indifferent and continued their attack, as did the other unification realm great cultivators from the Supreme Sect, determined to kill him here and now. Humph. The man in the purple robe snorted coldly, lifted the spear in his hand, and swept it forward. In an instant, vast demonic chi erupted, as if a black streak had been brushed across the painting of the heavens, spanning the sky. The 3 Ji family great cultivators were sent flying, vomiting blood, their heavenly dragon demon-suppressing forms annihilated, dispersing into smoke and clouds. The 3 crashed into the mountains like fallen stars from beyond the sky, causing the ground to shake and dust to rise in plumes. In all directions, 8 unification realm great cultivators shouted in unison. 8 ancient bronze bells floated behind them, from which images of bells also emerged, enclosing a 100-mile radius. As they cultivated energy, the bell images behind them rapidly expanded, all reaching 1,000 feet in height, grand and imposing. The enormous bell images unleashed a terrifying impact, shaking the space and causing waves to surge through the sky. The man in the purple robe raised his spear to deflect, vast spiritual power erupting, forming a powerful storm around him, resisting the impact from the bell images. Whoosh! Amidst the mountains, the sound of something breaking through the air approached the man in the purple robe at an incredible speed. His pupils contracted as he swiftly dodged the attack. It was a flying sword, fast as a streak of light. Its controller was a female cultivator, her red robe fluttering wildly, long hair streaming, and her pure, beautiful face frosty, her gaze at the man in the purple robe filled with killing intent. The gold ring behind the man in the purple robe rose, emitting golden light that shattered the bell images, causing mountains within 100 miles to explode, the ground trembling. Mighty waves of fire rose from the dust, transforming into fire dragons pouncing at the man in the purple robe, who sneered disdainfully. He suddenly turned and thrust his spear. Clang! An earth-shaking collision rang out, the spear striking a 3-zhang-tall great cauldron. The cauldron, with its sides carved with rare and exotic beasts, exuded a primordial aura. LV Badian stood atop the cauldron, unleashing a palm strike, spiritual power bursting out like a flood. The image of a mysterious Xian turtle appeared over him, roaring angrily, the terrifying palm wind simultaneously engulfing the man in the purple robe. Mystic tortoise surging wave palm. The palm wind fell from the sky, penetrating the ground as it swept upwards, scattering the dust waves in the world, as if to destroy the entire world. With a booming sound, LV Badian and the cauldron were blown away, numerous needle-like spiritual power spikes piercing his body, his face changing dramatically. In the violent blast, the man in the purple robe stood like a deity descending to the mortal world, dominating all things. He looked at LV Badian and sneered arrogantly, Unification Realm 9 layer, such a pity to die, for this seat. Before he finished speaking, he suddenly turned his head. Not only him, but the Supreme Sect's great cultivators also seemed to sense something, all turning to look in the same direction. 1,000 miles away, atop a mountain, Xuan stood at the edge of a cliff, gazing into the distance. Noticing the sudden halt in the battle, he frowned, unable to probe into the heart of the battle with his divine sense. Could the Supreme Sect's side have already lost? Xuan frowned deeply, his mind conflicted. He didn't want to lead the way, but Elder Qi Han had chosen him. Without him, others would lead, so he had to come. In fact, he did hold resentment towards the Supreme Sect. As an outer disciple of the Supreme Sect, the Sword Sect of the Great Yu dynasty sought to kill him, yet the Supreme Sect did not protect him, instead forcing him to cripple his cultivation, which left him disappointed. Despite his disappointment, the Supreme Sect was his first sect on his immortal cultivation path. He didn't want to see the Supreme Sect destroyed but had to accept it since he had joined the Ephemera Sect, which was the only sect in the immortal cultivation world that could accept him. As Xuan was feeling conflicted, a figure flew over his head. So fast. Xuan couldn't see who had just passed by, only sensing a flash of a purple-black shadow, as if it were an illusion. That figure was Xuan. With Xuan's cultivation, how could Xuan detect him? He deliberately let Xuan see him, intending to scare him away. This was his last bit of care as a master. After passing Xuan, Xuan suddenly accelerated, arriving above the battlefield in one step. He stopped 100 feet away from the man in the purple robe, immediately using a lifespan detection. Golden Spirit Venerable, Mystic Heart Realm 2nd Layer 1840/4500/4600, earning 2 or 300 lifespans would be acceptable. Xuan did not act immediately but allowed the man in the purple robe and the Supreme Sect's great cultivators to appraise him. Heaven-cutting axe, who are you? Golden Spirit Venerable frowned tightly, glaring at Xuan, and asked in a deep voice. The Supreme Sect great cultivators all looked at Xuan. Upon hearing the words Heaven-cutting axe, Jihan Tian, who was covered in blood and had just flown up, couldn't help but shout in surprise, Ancestor Xian Tian? Ancestor Xian Tian. All the Supreme Sect great cultivators were moved, even LV Badian, who stood on the great cauldron, looked incredulously at Ancestor Tian. Was Ancestor Tian actually still alive? Impossible, you're not Ancestor Tian, who are you? Golden Spirit Venerable stared intently at Xuan, unable to see through the other's true form made him uneasy. 1,000 years ago, your ancestor Tian, who went mad due to deviation, was killed by our sect's cultivators. His head still hangs on the 9 Nether Road. Who are you really? Have you inherited the heaven-cutting divine axe? Golden Spirit Venerable demanded, gripping his spear tightly, with golden strength energy swirling around it. Hearing about Ancestor Tian's fate, the Supreme Sect's cultivators were furious, cursing the ephemera sect, while Golden Spirit Venerable remained unfazed, his gaze fixed on Xuan. Xuan remained silent. Still can't pretend to be Ancestor Tian? Suddenly, Golden Spirit Venerable thrust his spear, golden light bursting forth, draining all color from the world. A terrifying pressure followed, causing a great windstorm, forcing the Supreme Sect great cultivators to retreat. The ruins below collapsed again, as if the apocalypse had arrived. The scorching golden light caused LV Badian's skin to begin to ulcerate, scaring him into immediately cultivating energy. Not just him, but others too. Luckily, the golden light came quickly and disappeared just as fast. When the golden light suddenly vanished, everyone stared with wide eyes. Golden Spirit Venerable still maintained his thrusting stance, while the mysterious shadow appeared beside him, the heaven-cutting axe already at his neck. Golden Spirit Venerable's body stiffened, his face full of disbelief. How is this possible? So fast. He was in the mystic heart realm, yet he could not capture the other's speed. Most crucially, the unimaginable suppressive force enveloped him, preventing his spiritual power from escaping his body. This was Xuan's divine skill, Mystic Yellow Dragon Might. Mystic Yellow Dragon Might was a divine skill realized when developing the Mystic Yellow Dragon Energy skill. Combined with the suppression of Mahayana Realm 9 layer, someone as powerful as Golden Spirit Venerable in Mystic Heart Realm 2nd layer couldn't resist. The Supreme Sect side was entirely subdued by Xuan, an unspeakable fear enveloping everyone. Regaining their senses, they noticed he used Demon Shadow Divine Skill. Could Thousand Autumn Pavilion possess such great power? Xuan held the axe in his right hand, hovering at Golden Spirit Venerable's neck. His left hand raised slowly, slapping away the hairpin atop the other's head, clutching his long hair. This made Golden Spirit Venerable look very disheveled, utterly losing his previous imposing manner. My ephemera sect main lineage is about to arrive. Do you really want to? Golden Spirit Venerable trembled, his eyes filled with fear. But before he finished speaking, with a squelch, Xuan severed his head. Blood splattered, Golden Spirit Venerable's eyes wide open. As Xuan wielded the heaven-cutting axe, a terrifying gust of wind swept across dozens of miles, blowing the dust explosively along the way. Golden Spirit Venerable's neck began to burn with blue flames, igniting his head and neck from both ends. Golden Spirit Venerable's voice became heavy and hoarse, his primordial spirit desperately trying to emerge, but it couldn't. With a hiss, Xuan let go, taking Golden Spirit Venerable's storage bracelet, then watched the blue flames consume him. In less than 5 breaths, with his spiritual power dispersed, Golden Spirit Venerable was reduced to ashes, leaving only a heart suspended in the air, still beating. Mystic Heart. Xuan grabbed the Mystic Heart, tossing it into his storage bag. He turned to leave. Wait, who are you really? Are you here to help us, or do you hold a grudge against the ephemera sect? If it's the latter, why not join forces? The 9 Nether Road has already opened, the real catastrophe is just beginning, we must unite. Tian shouted urgently. Others also looked at Xuan, nervous and expectant. Xuan remained silent but released his immense sword intent. The moment the sword intent was released, the sky changed color. In the distance, shaking flowers, trees, and grasses all froze. Fu Dao, an old man trembled, his face showing delight. Before he could finish, Guan disappeared in a single step. Ji Han Tian stood dazed, falling into a trance. Sword Venerable Fudao had easily slain the Golden Spirit Venerable. He remembered aggressively pursuing Sword Venerable Fudao once. His heart was filled with shame and fear. Fortunately, he was one of their own, otherwise, he would have perished. At the same time, unprecedented curiosity surged in his heart. Who was Sword Venerable Fudao? What was his status in the Supreme Sect? Outer Gate City. In an inn, Shenzhen was drinking, not long after Guan had left. Suddenly, powerful auras erupted within the city, causing it to tremble. A battle quickly broke out, startling the other disciples in the inn into leaving. Shenzhen looked up, glancing out the window. Above the heavenly repair platform, two cultivators were battling fiercely, the momentum growing. More Supreme Sect disciples landed on the rooftops, forming lines to protect the buildings. It's getting chaotic, interesting. Seeing the chaos in the outer sect, Shenzhen wasn't alarmed. Instead, he watched with interest. After a while, Guan rushed in anxiously, asking, "They're all fighting, why aren't you hiding?" The ephemera sect spies hidden in the Supreme Sect started causing trouble, thinking Golden Spirit Venerable had finished the battle, not knowing he was dead. From here, the Supreme Sect could handle it, so Guan only feigned panic. Shenzhen took out pen and paper, smiling, "Let's draw together. Whoever draws better, if you can satisfy me, you can have any medicinal herbs you want." Chapter 114 Ephemera Gathering, Path Enlightenment. Guan was not swayed by Shenzhen's words. Drawing someone's battle process was too offensive, and he was not lacking in high-rank medicinal herbs at present. Unless Shenzhen offered him a 7th-order medicinal grass, he would remain uninterested. Shenzhen came from the Dao Tian sect of the Great Yu dynasty, an extremely distant place. Even conveying a single message would take an indeterminate amount of time. Guan said, "The whole city is in chaos, how can I be in the mood to paint, Miss Shen? We should find a place to hide to avoid." Suddenly, a thunderous noise interrupted Guan's words. The entire inn shook violently, and dust surged in from the windows, engulfing the two of them. Shenzhen quickly wrapped her arm around Guan's waist and rushed out of the inn, arriving at the back courtyard. Guan tried to free himself from her grip, but she held him tightly. With a serious look in her eyes, she looked towards the back of the inn and whispered, "Don't move." Guan had no choice. Did she really think she could protect him, a great cultivator of the 9th layer of the Mahayana realm? Shenzhen frowned and took a flute from her storage bag with her left hand. Following her gaze, a figure flew out from the dust on the other side of the inn. Guan recognized him. It was Zhang Hong, an inner sect disciple who often meditated at the heavenly repair platform. Guan always saw him whenever he visited the platform. Unexpectedly, Zhang Hong turned out to be a spy from the ephemera sect. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Zhang Hong glanced at Guan and Shenzhen and immediately swung his sword at them. A streak of sword chi broke through the roof and charged towards them. The sword chi was too fast, so fast that Shenzhen could only instinctively raise her flute to block it. Bang! The sword chi exploded, collapsing the entire inn and raising clouds of dust. Zhang Hong leaped up and swiftly fled, while numerous figures pursued him relentlessly from behind. All around, the entire outer gate city was in a chaotic battle. Even the great elder LV Songhan was fighting, while the city protection array in the sky twisted violently, on the verge of breaking apart. As the sword chi dissipated, Shenzhen pulled Guan out. Both were in a disheveled state. "Miss Shen, are you all right?" Guan asked with concern, though he could see that Shenzhen's injuries were not life-threatening. Zhang Hong was at the first layer of the nascent soul realm. Although Shenzhen had blocked his sword chi, she had suffered internal injuries. Being able to block a sword from a nascent soul realm cultivator with a core formation realm cultivation level, Shenzhen indeed had some skills. Blood dripped from her chin beneath her veil. She maintained her composure and said calmly, "I am the holy daughter of the Dao Tian sect. How could a nameless person harm me?" Let's find a place to hide first. She let go of her right hand and then quickly walked ahead, with Xuan following closely behind. The entire city was in battle. The two dared not fly and had to traverse the streets on foot. Fortunately, they encountered disciples from the law enforcement hall who led them to an underground palace to take refuge. The underground palace was extensive, sheltering many disciples, most of whom were servant disciples. Shenzhen found a place to sit cross-legged, took out a bottle of elixir from her storage bag, and began to cultivate and heal after consuming it. Xuan did not disturb her. He scanned the underground palace, and after confirming there were no abnormalities, he also sat down and closed his eyes to observe the world with his divine sense. The entire Supreme Sect was in turmoil, not just the outer gate city. Battles raged in all the cities. LV Badian and others, sensing the unrest in the Supreme Sect, were all hurrying back. Without the support of the Golden Spirit Venerable, the Supreme Sect would surely overcome this internal conflict, albeit with some casualties in the process. Xuan's divine sense focused mainly on the Third Medicine Valley and the Mystic Valley. The Mystic Valley, located outside the outer gate, remained unthreatened since the ephemera sect spies were causing chaos within the Supreme Sect. The Third Medicine Valley was under protection, with Guyu leading a group of cultivators to guard it. Fierce battles had already erupted. As long as the medicinal herbs remained untouched, Xuan was not inclined to intervene. The Supreme Sect needed this trial by fire. Time passed by. As Unification Realm great cultivators returned, skirmishes in the cities quickly subsided. In less than 30 minutes, there was no more fighting in the outer gate city where Xuan was located. A figure emerged from the tunnel, shouting joyfully, "The battle is over, everyone can come out." Hearing this, the disciples smiled, stood up, and helped each other out. Shenzhen stood up as well. Looking at Xuan, she said, "Why aren't you helping me? Look at the others." Xuan laughed, "I don't think you're that seriously injured. Once we return to the Medicine Valley, you can pick a batch of medicinal herbs as a reward for protecting me just now." Shenzhen smiled but did not respond and walked towards the crowd with Xuan. After leaving the underground palace, Xuan reached the street. He looked up to see the sky shrouded in dark clouds, with fire dragons formed by spiritual power swirling majestically, appearing as if divine beings were protecting the city. Xuan saw a figure of a Unification Realm great cultivator hovering thousands of feet in the air. During the earlier battle with the Golden Spirit Venerable, this person had looked quite haggard. Now, however, he seemed invincible and overbearing. Shenzhen gazed upwards as well. After confirming the battle had truly ended, she said to Xuan, "I need to return. You should also go back soon." With that, she turned and left. She tried to appear relaxed, but once out of Xuan's sight, he noticed she suddenly sped up. Shenzhen's injuries would likely require months of rest to fully recover. Xuan began to stroll through the city. Wherever he passed, he saw many buildings damaged, with injured disciples coming and going, inspecting the city. Xuan sensed the presence of Zhenqin and Yilan, both uninjured, so he did not seek them out. The mysterious aura he had felt a few days ago was still there. As it came from too far away within the Taicang dynasty, Xuan could not discern its origin. He speculated it might be related to the Nine Nether Road. Before dying, the Golden Spirit Venerable had said that the main lineage of the ephemera sect was about to arrive, indicating that this calamity had just begun. More mystic heart realm great cultivators were likely to appear in the future. It truly was a troublesome time. Xuan mused, his gaze suddenly drawn to a distant figure. A disciple was walking among the crowd. He looked unremarkable, in both appearance and cultivation level, and few people paid attention to him as he walked along the street. Xuan was drawn to him because there was an indescribable aura about him that felt somewhat familiar. Time for a lifespan detection. Wuju, Foundation Establishment Realm Second Layer 63/280/310. Such a lifespan was not outstanding in the outer gate. Xuan thought as he looked at Wuju, soon understanding why the aura felt familiar. Path Enlightenment. The other party was in Path Enlightenment, no wonder he seemed somewhat dazed while walking the streets. Guan became interested and observed Wu Ju closely, wanting to see the state of path enlightenment from the perspective of an onlooker. He had undergone path enlightenment before. After that experience, he was unsure of the specific changes that had occurred, as he often used lifespan to enhance himself, which could obscure any transformations. He could not discern whether the improvements came from his own powers or the lifespan evolution. Guan began to follow Wu Ju, maintaining a distance of several feet. As they walked down various streets, Guan suddenly felt Wu Ju's aura surge. This surge was not an elevation in his cultivation level but rather another profound change. He instinctively used lifespan detection again. Wu Ju, Foundation Establishment Realm Second Layer 63/280/340, His maximum lifespan had increased by 30 years. This was the first time Guan had seen someone's maximum lifespan increase. Was this the transformation brought by path enlightenment? No wonder Han Ming claimed that after path enlightenment, one's sword Dao advanced rapidly. It seemed even aptitude and comprehension improved. Guan was secretly astonished, growing more interested in Wu Ju. In the wasteland, over 1,000 ephemera sect cultivators gathered in front of an array platform, whispering among themselves. Their gazes frequently turned to the black rift on the array platform. The black aura had disappeared, but a black space rift remained in the sky, reflecting a dark red sky, like the entrance to an exotic world. Elder Chi Han sat in the front, frowning. For some reason, he suddenly felt uneasy. He tried to calm down and closed his eyes to cultivate. The sun set, and the moon rose. A night passed. In the early morning, a sound of footsteps appeared on the array platform, startling Elder Chi Han to open his eyes. Not only him, but many cultivators instinctively opened their eyes to look. The Golden Spirit Venerable is dead. Summon all ephemera sect members to gather here. A cold voice resonated in everyone's ears. The speaker was a woman in black, her face masked, with an ephemera pattern on it. Her words caused an uproar among the ephemera sect members. They knew the Golden Spirit Venerable was the title of the man in a purple robe they had seen earlier. How could such a powerful figure have died within a few days? Was the Supreme Sect truly so formidable? Jiang Qiong in the crowd also frowned, shocked by the strength of the Supreme Sect. Elder Chi Han's expression changed dramatically, but he did not hesitate. He stood up and issued orders to gather the ephemera sect. At that moment, far away in the Supreme Sect, Lu Lingjun was equally astounded. The news of Sword Venerable Fudao slaying the ephemera sect demon had spread throughout the sect, with disciples everywhere celebrating this feat. Inner sect disciples even came to the Third Medicine Valley, loudly proclaiming this achievement, inspiring excitement among the valley's disciples, who resumed discussions about Sword Venerable Fudao's prowess. Taking advantage of the situation, Guan took his leave and flew to the outer gate city. Upon entering the city, he moved quickly, turning corners until he reached a street. There, he saw Wu Ju, who had enlightened, standing under an old tree, facing its trunk, lost in thought. Guan sensed he had awakened from path enlightenment and was probably organizing his thoughts. Wu Ju, Foundation Establishment Realm Second Layer 63/280/540, his maximum lifespan had increased from 310 to 540 years, nearly doubling. Guan was very curious about what Wu Ju had realized. Thinking this, Guan pretended to pass by, approached Wu Ju from behind, and asked with concern, "Brother, are you all right?" Wu Ju turned around hastily, looking flustered, and waved, "Nothing, I was just deep in thought about a cultivation technique and got lost in it." He then offered an embarrassed smile, clasped his hands in salute to Guan, and walked away. Guan watched his back but did not pursue, silently deciding to observe him more in the future. A maximum lifespan of 540 years was not enough to stand out in the outer gate, but he would see if Wu Ju continued to enlighten further. Chapter 115, The Calamity of 9 Dynasties, Harvesting Lifespan. It had been half a month since Golden Spirit Venerable's attack. Since that day, the Supreme Sect remained in a state of readiness, summoning numerous disciples, and everyday disciples could be seen flying over Mystic Valley and the Third Medicine Valley. Inside a pavilion in Mystic Valley, Xuan was listening to Yilan speak about events in the immortal cultivation world, and she mentioned the Nine Nether Road. It said there is a road that leads directly to the underworld Nine Nether, called the Nine Nether Road. The Ephemera sect has opened the Nine Nether Road's entrance, located in the Great Zhao Dynasty's dustless wasteland. Now, cultivators from the Ephemera sect are heading to the dustless wasteland. Whether they are retreating or have other plans is unknown, but the Supreme Sect has already sent a batch of disciples to investigate. When talking about the Nine Nether Road, a trace of hope flickered in Yilan's eyes. Xuan couldn't help but ask, "You seem to have a longing for the Nine Nether Road?" Yilan replied, "It said that the Nine Nether Road can cross boundless seas and reach another vast mortal world where immortal opportunities are hidden. To claim that I don't hope for it at all would be a lie. The Ephemera sect has recruited many cultivators through the Nine Nether Road, but I think going there with my qualifications would bring more disaster than fortune." She then shifted the conversation to Sword Venerable Fudao. According to information she obtained from the Law Enforcement Hall, Sword Venerable Fudao had displayed unmatched prowess throughout the sect, and it was said that without his intervention, the Supreme Sect might have faced catastrophe. While speaking, she also observed the changes in Xuan's expression. Xuan listened with great interest, as if Sword Venerable Fudao had nothing to do with him. An hour later, Yilan stood up to leave, as she had to return to the Law Enforcement Hall for her assigned duties. After seeing her off, Xuan walked into the forest and arrived at Yang Ni's garden. Yang Ni had gone to the outer sect again today. She was still investigating the identity of Sword Venerable Fudao. Xuan dared not tell her that Su Shan was dead, so he let her continue. A year from now, when Su Shan doesn't come looking for her, she should understand that she's free. Xuan looked at the ground where the ephemera flower grew and carefully observed it. He could feel that the ephemera flower was nurturing a unique kind of spiritual energy, but he couldn't yet determine whether this energy was good or bad. Every cultivator who joined the ephemera sect would receive a batch of ephemera seeds. Planting ephemera flowers was also a way to establish merit. Even the sect hierarch Zhongliang didn't know the exact use of the ephemera flower. The ephemera sect members who remained in the Nine Dynasties territory were merely puppets of the main lineage. They knew nothing but each harbored their own expectations. Xuan picked an ephemera flower and then entered the 8 scenic caves, arriving before the green vine tree. He placed the ephemera flower under the tree for the green vine tree to sense. "Take it away. Take it away," the female voice of the green vine tree echoed, soft yet anxious. Xuan asked in surprise, "You are a 7th-level spirit tree. Are you actually afraid of a 6th-level flower? Its aura is very annoying." "I dislike it," the green vine tree responded intermittently. Upon hearing this, Xuan raised his hand and put the ephemera flower back into his storage bag. He then sat down and summoned the storage bracelet from a distance, beginning to inventory the legacy of Golden Spirit Venerable. The 8 scenic caves contained many storage bags and rings, all spoils acquired by Xuan through battles, and this was the place where he could store things best kept out of sight. However, after searching thoroughly, he didn't find any information about the ephemera flower and had to give up. But what he found instead was an elixir record, which he took out to examine carefully. He had already mastered the Taicang elixir path, his alchemy skills had reached the Grandmaster level, and with an elixir recipe, he could effortlessly refine elixirs. Halfway through, his hand paused. Ephemera demon elixir? Winter eventually arrived, and snowflakes drifted down to the mortal world, continuously erasing its color. Tian Valley. Xuan had just harvested a batch of medicinal herbs, successfully obtaining nearly 10,000 years of lifespan, filling him with joy. Tian Valley had special formations that prevented snow from accumulating, saving a lot of trouble. Xuan instructed Sunda to move all the medicinal herbs into the storage building, then walked towards the courtyard where Luo Han and Yi Luyun were drinking and discussing the Nine Nether Road. The Nine Nether Road has caught the attention of the cultivators from the 9 dynasties. It's said that representatives from each dynasty and sect have been sent to investigate, but the entrance to the Nine Nether Road is surrounded by ephemera sect cultivators, and they have all returned empty-handed. Luo Han said with a frown. Yi Luyun glanced at the approaching Xuan, then said to Luo Han, "This is also a good thing. At least the Taicang dynasty doesn't have to bear the pressure of the ephemera sect alone." Luo Han nodded and said, "The force behind the ephemera sect will definitely come through the Nine Nether Road. This will be a calamity for the 9 dynasties. Furthermore, my sources report that ephemera flowers are appearing everywhere now. When they mature, they attract demons and ghosts. It's uncertain what the ephemera sect's true purpose is." Guan sat down nearby, listening to the two discuss matters of the immortal cultivation world. He curiously asked, "Are there any evil legends about the ephemera flower?" Previously, he thought the ephemera sect was merely competing for power with the supreme sect. Now, he realized their ambitions were far greater. Without understanding the true strength of the main lineage of the ephemera sect, Guan dared not enter the Nine Nether Road. Yi Luyan frowned and said, "I have heard a legend that the ephemera flower is a flower of the underworld, symbolizing death and reincarnation. When ephemera flowers appear in the mortal world, it heralds an imminent catastrophe, causing many lives to perish." Luo Han said, "The 9 dynasties have already issued orders to eradicate the ephemera flowers. Regardless of the ephemera sect's intentions, the widespread appearance of ephemera flowers must be stopped." Upon hearing this, Guan felt relieved. When the world is in trouble, the world should unite against it. He didn't want to bear the worry alone. Now that everyone is clearing out ephemera flowers, he might as well join in. Clearing ephemera flowers at night could earn him lifespan and save lives, benefiting in every way. Luo Han and Yi Luyan continued discussing the ephemera sect, while Guan listened, hearing many names through their conversation. The reappearance of the Nine Nether Road in the mortal world caused a great upheaval in the immortal cultivation world of the 9 dynasties. Many great cultivators who had been in seclusion began to emerge. The ephemera sect had become the scourge of the 9 dynasties. Some ancient beings, who had lived for over 1,000 years, declared they would annihilate the ephemera sect. This was advantageous, as the ephemera sect becoming a common enemy might cause those who had joined it to waver and seize the opportunity to break free. As evening approached, Guan returned to Mystic Valley. He scanned the area with his divine sense and had a strange expression. Yang and I had burned all the ephemera flowers she planted, leaving ashes behind in the garden. Could it be that Yang and I had come to her senses? Guan did not ask Yang and I about it and instead, went back to his room. Late at night, Guan began to sweep through the Taicang dynasty with his divine sense, searching for ephemera flowers. One sweep revealed a shocking number of ephemera flowers. How did so many ephemera flowers sprout up all of a sudden? They weren't there last month. Guan immediately vanished from his room and went to eradicate the ephemera flowers. Within 2 steps, he arrived in a forest miles away, near a village where the ephemera flowers were mostly concentrated around the vicinity. He picked an ephemera flower, only to obtain a year's lifespan. These ephemera flowers grew extremely fast, quite unnatural, likely due to some force draining their potential, leaving them with little remaining lifespan. A year is still a year, small amounts accumulate over time. Guan began to clear the ephemera flowers. At dawn, Guan went downstairs, feeling invigorated. Last night, he harvested over 40,000 years of lifespan, showing just how plentiful the ephemera flowers were. Practicing exercises with the disciples, Yang and I also arrived, though she looked listless, clearly burdened with worries. After the exercises, Yang and I approached Guan and said she was preparing to leave. "Where are you going?" Guan asked with a frown. Yang and I replied, "To handle some matters." Guan reminded her, the ephemera sect has been causing trouble recently, and the 9 dynasties are planning to jointly eliminate them. You should stay away from it. Yang and I nodded and said, "Don't worry, I have no ties with the ephemera sect." As she spoke, she stared intently at Guan. Some words were unspoken, but both of them understood the underlying meaning. 30 minutes later, Yang and I packed up and left. Guan stood by the window, watching her depart, feeling that the next time they met could be many years later. At the same time, on the distant dustless wasteland, ghostly energy filled the air, forming black clouds that covered the sky. Flocks of crows flew across the sky. Leah, carrying the North Sea heavy sword on his back, stood on a cliff, gazing at the vast sea of people below, frowning. He didn't expect the ephemera sect to have secretly recruited so many followers. That Nine Nether Road is very sinister, filled with immense ghostly energy and demon energy, the voice of the primordial ancestor echoed in Li Ya's ears. Leah looked towards the traveler of graceful crane sitting on a rock in the distance, holding a painting scroll and contemplating. No matter, when the primordial ancestor descends, they will all be wiped out in one fell swoop. Leah thought to himself. He now held great confidence in the mysterious demon shadow, believing the figure to be invincible in the present age. It's not that simple. No matter how powerful he is, his spiritual power will eventually deplete. Taking on the calamity of the 9 dynasties alone is almost impossible. If he were truly that formidable, he wouldn't need to practice the demon shadow divine skill of the Thousand Autumn Pavilion to conceal his identity, the primordial ancestor sighed. Leah felt displeased listening to this. Ever since encountering the ephemera sect, the primordial ancestor had become timid, no longer exuding the serene and profound demeanor he once had, shattering Li Ya's illusion. But recalling the primordial ancestor of Li family's admonition, Leah did not argue with the primordial ancestor's words. Just then, the ground began to tremble, startling Leah to soar into the air, whereas the traveler of graceful crane remained seated on the rock, unmoved. Leah looked towards the entrance of the 9 Nether Road, where he saw the array platform beneath the black crack starting to crumble, a wooden branch breaking through the ground, followed by its trunk. The followers of the ephemera sect around the area all retreated. Under everyone's alarmed gaze, a towering tree burst from the ground, unmistakably an ephemera tree. This ephemera tree was even larger than the one Xuan had eradicated, standing over 500 yards tall, its crown piercing the black clouds. The colossal ephemera tree standing behind the black crack appeared even more terrifying. Humph, they indeed planted an ephemera tree. A cold snort resounded across the heavens, chilling everyone to the core. Jiang Qiong turned her head, seeing a brilliant sword light sweep from the horizon, cutting through the sea of clouds, unstoppable, targeting the ephemera tree. A figure appeared out of nowhere before the ephemera tree, the masked woman in black, wielding a golden staff. With a forward thrust, boundless spiritual power erupted, forcibly halting the sword light miles away, distorting the surrounding space. Chapter 116 Kindred Spirits on a Snowy Night, Deep in the Mountains. Xuan squatted down, picked the last ephemeral flower from the snow, and threw it into his storage bag. He only harvested 1 more year of lifespan, but he was not dissatisfied, because this month he had already harvested nearly 500,000 years of lifespan, pushing his total lifespan over 1,000,000 years again. It was so satisfying. After tonight, there would be no more ephemeral flowers on the surface in the Taicang dynasty. In 1 month, he had picked over 1,000,000 ephemeral flowers, half of which hadn't even reached a year old, having just sprouted. If Xuan didn't pick them, the cultivators of the Taicang dynasty would clear them, so he could only pick them whenever he saw them, gambling on his luck. He couldn't ignore the safety of the world and forbid others from clearing the ephemeral flowers, and he also feared the ephemera sect. He could slowly accumulate lifespan, but if the ephemera sect's plan succeeded and he had no power to resist, he would be ruined. In the dim forest, Xuan stretched lazily and then walked towards the nearby city. It was almost dawn, and he planned to stroll around the city. Being cooped up in Medicine Valley all the time wasn't good. Occasionally getting out to see the scenery and the sights of the exotic realms could help him gain insights. Since he encountered Wu Ju's path enlightenment, Xuan had been pondering enlightenment. He felt that enlightenment relied not only on opportunity but also on life experiences. The sun gradually rose. The city 100 miles away began to stir with noise, signaling the start of a new day. At noon, Xuan sat in the second-floor tavern, drinking wine. He sat by the window, watching the street below, where martial arts heroes were performing their skills. Where there were people, there was the martial arts world. Even though everyone in the Taicang dynasty knew about the existence of immortal cultivation, 90% of people couldn't cultivate, which led to the birth of the martial arts world. They stood apart from the immortal cultivation world, having their own excitement and grievances. In the entire city, Xuan only sensed 3 other cultivators, and like him, they were pretending to be ordinary people. The immortal cultivation world was facing the threat of the ephemera sect, with countless demons eyeing them greedily outside the 9 dynasties, while the ordinary people lived unaffected. Most of them only lived for a few decades, and by the time their lives ended, the great demon calamity might not have even arrived. This was the difference between immortals and mortals. Cultivators and mortals lived under different time rules. As Xuan contemplated the difference between immortals and mortals, many emotions surged in his heart. He wanted to see if he could enter a state of enlightenment through such reflections. However, he sat there all day without entering the state of enlightenment, but he didn't feel it was a waste of time. Sitting quietly sometimes, not speaking, and experiencing the countless facets of the mortal world had its own unique pleasure. Dusk settled again, and the snow that had stopped for a day began to fall once more. Xuan stood up, left some silver coins, and then departed. He didn't leave the city directly but started to wander the streets, mingling with the crowds, letting the snow fall on him, immersing himself in the mortal world's hustle and bustle. Only at dawn the next day did Xuan return to the valley. When he reached the 3rd Medicine Valley, he saw disciples gathered together, chattering excitedly. From a distance, he heard the disciples discussing the Supreme Elder. A Supreme Elder had returned. This news shook the entire Supreme sect. The identity of the Supreme Elder, who had lived for 1500 years with cultivation reaching the heavens, had been revealed. At the moment, the Supreme sect was facing the threat of the ephemera sect, and the return of the Supreme Elder had greatly boosted the sect's morale. The righteous sect of the world regained its domineering aura. This Supreme Elder's title was Mystic Spring, also known as Xuan. Xuan guessed that he had returned because the Supreme Sect informed him that Ancestor Tian had been killed by the ephemera sect. After listening for a while, Xuan continued to pick medicinal herbs. As he picked the herbs, he was still contemplating the insights from the past 2 days. Although he hadn't entered a state of enlightenment, his mystic heart had gained another talisman. The mystic heart could gather divine skills, and Xuan, at the Mahayana realm 9 layers, had a divine skill brewing. Condensing divine skills depended not on cultivation level but on insights. He already had an idea, and as he continued to perfect it, the divine skill would naturally form. 3 days later, Xuan arrived at the Outer Sect's book collection hall, where Elder Lu often personally received him as always. After not seeing him for several months, Xuan noticed that he had aged significantly, his complexion also declining. Elder Lu, Foundation Establishment Realm 9th Layer 258/270/340, looking at the other's lifespan, Xuan sighed internally. Elder Liu's cultivation level was obviously elevated by elixirs, so his lifespan was shorter than those of the same realm. Having known each other for many years, their relationship had become profound, beyond the bounds of age. Xuan couldn't help but feel melancholic about his old friend's impending departure. However, he had long been prepared for this. He would eventually say goodbye to everyone around him. The path to longevity was destined to be lonely. Even if he found a way to extend the limit of lifespan in the future, it would just be an improvement. Making people immortal was incredibly difficult, and Xuan couldn't transfer his lifespan to others. This anticipated loneliness didn't sadden Xuan, instead, it made him more resolute. The more so, the more he wanted to live on. He wanted to see the mortal world after 10,000 years, the splendors of 10 million years, and the vicissitudes of hundreds of millions of years. Elder Lu, this is the last volume of the Supreme Immortal Venerable. Xuan took a book out of his storage bag and smiled. Elder Lu took the book and curiously asked, "I thought you would wait a few more years. How did it come out so soon?" The story needed to end, and coincidentally, it concludes with the protagonist joining forces with the people of the world to slay the demon and bring peace. Doesn't this align perfectly with the current world situation? Xuan smiled. He paused for a moment and then said, "Although my qualifications are mediocre and I lack the strength to change the world, if I can inspire the people's fighting spirit, it will be a small contribution." Elder Lu did not open the book but praised, "Your books have already influenced many people. Before you, cultivators rarely read outside their practice. The name Panan has taken on the aura of a sage. Elder Lu, you're exaggerating. Haha, what are you writing next? I don't plan to write anything for now. I will see what the future holds. Indeed, a masterpiece often comes about by chance and cannot be forced. The two chatted casually, with Elder Lu reminiscing about their first meeting. Guan listened intently and responded just as earnestly. After talking for 2 ancient hours, Elder Lu suddenly said, "Once the final volume of Supreme Immortal Venerable is arranged, I will resign from the elder position and prepare to leave the Supreme Sect to revisit my hometown. It has been 240 years since I joined the sect. I wonder if my hometown has changed." He already sensed his imminent end. People often wish to return to their roots before they die. Guan couldn't help but think of Qing Xiandan, who also left alone before his end. I wish Elder Lu a smooth journey. Guan smiled gently as if unaware of Elder Liu's impending end. After bidding farewell to Elder Lu, Guan went to the elixir hall. He did not enter the hall but stood in the street, looking at its sign. Because of Elder Lu, he thought of Zhu Qinglu. Zhu Qinglu, an elder of the elixir hall, was also responsible for liaising with Guan. He, too, did not have many years left to live. This indicated that in the coming years, Guan would continuously say goodbye to old friends. In this place, Guan entered a state of selflessness. He didn't know how much time had passed. Suddenly, Guan awoke, his vision returning, seeing a disciple standing in front of him. It was none other than Wu Ju, who had previously achieved path enlightenment. "Brother, are you all right?" Wu Ju asked cautiously. He had passed by and was drawn by Gu An's state, suspecting that Guan had entered a state of enlightenment similar to his own. As he got closer, he realized it was the disciple he had encountered the day his own enlightenment ended. Fate was indeed wondrous. That day, this disciple witnessed his enlightenment. Today, he witnessed the disciple's enlightenment. Wu Ju developed a fondness for Guan and had been guarding nearby to avoid interruption. He had stood for quite a while. When Guan suddenly opened his eyes, he thought he might have disturbed him and felt a bit uneasy. Guan had indeed entered a state of enlightenment earlier, and his mystic heart had gained another talisman. He looked at Wu Ju and smiled, "I'm fine. Have we met before?" Wu Ju smiled and said, "Yes, back then I was under the tree, and you asked if I was all right, just like how I am asking you now." Guan cast a lifespan detection on him. Wu Ju, Foundation Establishment Realm 2nd Layer 63/280/1040. How did he gain another 500 years? Had this guy recently achieved enlightenment again? Who was this person really? This was ridiculously extraordinary. Han Ming had only achieved enlightenment once in his life, yet Wu Ju had done it twice in 2 months. You must have entered a state of enlightenment just now. Shall we find a place to talk? Wu Ju invited him eagerly. Guan didn't refuse, as it suited him well. Then, he followed Wu Ju to his private courtyard. After closing the door, they sat down to converse. Wu Ju became quite enthusiastic, actively sharing his experiences. He had been an orphan since childhood, brought to the Supreme Sect by his master. His master, an outer disciple, found him hanging on a tree while on a mission. His parents had abandoned him but didn't want him to be eaten by wild beasts, so they hung him on the tree. In the Supreme Sect, Wu Ju's spirit root qualification was mediocre, but under his master's protection, he had a good life. It wasn't until recently that his master was killed by a cultivator of the Ephemera sect on a mission, news he got from his master's companion. He felt as if the sky had fallen. The very next day, the Ephemera sect attacked. Watching the cultivators fight, Wu Ju was perplexed, not understanding why people had to fight to the death. In his confused state, he achieved enlightenment. After sharing his story, he looked at Guan and asked, "Brother Gu, what led to your enlightenment?" Guan replied, "My enlightenment was also related to life and death. An old friend I've known for decades is approaching his end." He spoke calmly, but Wu Ju sensed that he must have been deeply saddened. However, the reason for Guan's enlightenment made Wu Ju feel a deeper connection with him. Brother Gu, don't share your enlightenment experience with others. After my enlightenment, I found that my energy absorption speed increased, and even my comprehension improved. My master always taught me to be humble and keep things to myself, Wu Ju said earnestly. Guan nodded, smiling inwardly. It seemed Wu Ju's master was someone with similar beliefs. But he thought Wu Ju's enlightenment wasn't simply due to sudden clarity. Enlightening twice because of his master's death? It didn't make sense. Chapter 117, Kill Him, Using a Sword? Guan exchanged epiphanies with Wu Ju, talking all the way until the next morning. Both of them benefited greatly. Before parting, Wu Ju reminded him once again not to reveal their epiphany to others. Seeing Wu Ju's caution, Guan smiled and promised. Wu Ju watched Guan leave, a smile spreading on his face. Having lived in the Supreme Sect for so many years, Guan was his first true friend. He had always been very self-conscious and didn't dare to communicate with others much. The only one he was close to was his master, so his master's death was a great blow to him. Wu Ju turned back to his room to continue cultivating, while looking forward to his next exchange with Guan. Guan stayed in the city for an hour before returning to the third Medicine Valley. After inspecting the valley, he hurriedly left again. After spending a short while in Mystic Valley, he came to the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion. The Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion already had a lot of medicinal herbs planted, but it was still far from being filled. Guan planned to plant herbs above the 5th rank here, as it was his private territory, a place truly unknown to anyone. Though Jiang Qiong and Sky Dragon knew about the 8 scenic caves, only he knew about the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion. During the planting process, he felt the presence of a battle coming from the north. The aura of the 9 Nether Road was still there, lasting for several months. The 9 dynasties continuously sent cultivators to fight, temporarily curbing the chaos caused by the Ephemera sect. This was normal. If the strength of the Ephemera sect far surpassed the 9 dynasties, they would have swept across them long ago. Guan did not pay attention to the distant battle and focused on planting herbs. He could stay overnight at the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion, as it was already the end of the month. If Leah wanted to contact him, he could not afford to miss it. Since Guan and Leah made the agreement, Leah didn't appear on a mountain top at the end of the month to reveal his aura, possibly due to circumstances beyond his control. Yet, Guan was not anxious. He would come to the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion at the end of every month and use his divine sense to search for Leah's aura in the north. Thus, Guan finished planting all the seeds he brought and set up a formation. When night fell, he performed the 9 extremes yin-yang body, transforming into a shadow and heading north. Under the night sky, Leah, carrying the North Sea heavy sword, reached the mountain top. He looked ahead, the mountains stretched endlessly. The night sky was covered with dark clouds, obscuring the stars and moon. How far is this place from the North Sea mountains? I wonder if the primordial ancestor can find me, Leah thought worriedly. The old ancestor's voice sounded in his mind. The great cultivators of the 9 dynasties continue to appear, yet they cannot budge that female cultivator. When the main branch of the Ephemera sect arrives, it will be even more dangerous. Even if the primordial ancestor comes, he cannot turn the tide. He too acknowledged that Guan was the primordial ancestor of the Li family, but he had no confidence in the ancestor. The primordial ancestor's cultivation level was higher than his own when he was alive, but the main branch of the Ephemera sect also had such people, and not just one. After hearing this, Leah fell silent. He turned his head, spreading his divine sense, fearing that followers of the Ephemera sect were tracking him. After confirming no one was following him, Leah put down the heavy sword and sat cross-legged. He placed the heavy sword on his legs, carefully stroking it, feeling the blade. He had already mastered a trace of the Taicang divine shocking sword intent. The longer he delved into it, the more profound he found the swordsmanship. Once it was fully mastered, he would be unrivaled in his realm and even capable of cross-realm battles. The cold wind blew. Though there was no flying snow, it was still bone-chillingly cold. It was unclear how much time had passed. A figure appeared behind Leah, silently watching him. It was Xuan, using the 9 extremes yin-yang body, observing Li Ya's swordsmanship accomplishments. Not bad, he didn't waste the swordsmanship accomplishment he had left behind. He is here, the old ancestor's voice sounded in Li Ya's ear, with a complex tone. Upon hearing this, Leah opened his eyes and turned his head. As soon as he saw Xuan, he immediately stood up and saluted him with the North Sea heavy sword in hand. Now he could lift the North Sea heavy sword with one hand. Greetings, primordial ancestor. Regarding the title Leah used, Xuan couldn't bother to explain. As long as Leah didn't guess his real identity, it was fine. Tell me about the ephemera sect, Xuan said, his voice as usual with a changed tone. Leah began reporting the situation. Currently, all the followers of the ephemera sect were gathered at the entrance of the 9 Nether Road, numbering over 1 million. Every one of the ephemera sect's followers bore the ephemera seal, causing those wavering cultivators to be unable to escape. He mentioned the ephemera tree. Nearly every day, cultivators went to fight against the ephemera sect and ultimately died, becoming nutrients for the ephemera tree. Speaking of this tree, the fearless Li Ya's face too showed a trace of fear. Xuan wasn't concerned about these. He was only curious about the strength of the strongest person in the main branch of the ephemera sect. Unfortunately, Leah didn't know either. After talking for half a day, it was all about the battles around the ephemera tree, without mentioning the situation inside the 9 Nether Road. I wondered why you came out secretly, turns out it was to pass on information. It seems your backer is also helpless and unable to respond to you. A contemptuous laugh echoed, startling Leah, his face turned pale. He looked behind Xuan, only to see a scholar-dressed traveler of graceful crane walking out from the forest. Xuan, with his back towards him, did not turn around. Shadow magic skill, I wonder which master from the Thousand Autumn Pavilion you are? Traveler of graceful crane asked with a smile as he took off the book box behind him, placed it in front, and began to search inside it. Before Xuan spoke, Leah anxiously shouted, Primordial ancestor, he is Traveler of graceful crane. It's him who previously captured my old ancestor's soul. He is very strong, you must not be careless. Xuan turned his head slightly, glancing at Traveler of graceful crane. Traveler of graceful crane, Unification Realm 9th Layer 1209/3020/3030, Unification Realm 9th Layer, no wonder he spoke so arrogantly. With such cultivation, he could indeed roam freely in the Taicang dynasty. Xuan slowly turned around, looking at Traveler of graceful crane rummaging through his things, not in a hurry, watching him perform. A grand Unification Realm 9th Layer cultivator needed to search for something by hand? This guy clearly thought he had Xuan in the palm of his hand, deliberately messing with Xuan and Li Ya's minds. Primordial ancestor? So you are family. In that case, I'll torture you to death in front of him to put an end to his wild thoughts, Traveler of graceful crane sneered coldly. Upon hearing this, Leah immediately moved to stand beside Xuan, offering the North Sea heavy sword to him. To kill him, do I need a sword? Xuan's hoarse voice sounded, making Leah pause, causing Traveler of graceful crane to halt his search. Traveler of graceful crane looked up at Xuan. The two stood on a slope, with Xuan standing higher. He couldn't see Xuan's true face, but for some reason, looking at the opponent's posture gave him an uneasy feeling in his heart. He suddenly pulled out a scroll from the book box. When the scroll unfurled, terrifying magma erupted, blocking out the sky and blotting out the sun with a mighty force. Leah stood dazed, unable to react. Xuan swiftly raised his right hand, flicking his finger to release a beam of light. It pierced through the terrifying magma, forcefully piercing Traveler of graceful crane's throat, blood spurting from the back of his neck. Traveler of graceful crane's eyes widened in disbelief. As his body leaned backward, a foot stepped on his back. Boom! The mountain quaked. Under Li Ya's watchful eyes, the formidable Traveler of graceful crane, who once made him despair, was trampled under the foot of the primordial ancestor, stone debris flying everywhere. Ugh, Traveler of Graceful Crane spat out a mouthful of reverse blood, desperately finding his spiritual power suppressed within his body, incapable of manifesting outside or casting spells for escape. He had never felt such suppression. Even a great mystic heart realm cultivator couldn't suppress him like this. Could it be that he had reached above the 5th level of the mystic heart realm? Traveler of Graceful Crane felt an absurdity. Boom! 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 Xuan started stomping, foot by foot on Traveler of Graceful Crane's back. More blood pooled beneath him, forming cracks in the mountain surface. Shrouded in dark purple demonic chi, Xuan appeared like a demon god from the netherworld. Even Leia couldn't help but feel a tinge of fear in his heart. The primordial spirit of the old ancestor within him was also silent. After 9 stomps, Traveler of Graceful Crane had lost his combat ability. Xuan's right foot ignited with Taicang true fire, attaching it to Traveler of Graceful Crane's body. He then stepped back, using his left hand to capture Traveler of Graceful Crane's primordial spirit, while his right hand picked up the book box beside him. Traveler of Graceful Crane's body was swiftly incinerated to ashes. Xuan's figure vanished, leaving only a sentence: "From now on, survive at your best. There's no need to seek me out again." Leia stood on the slope, gazing at the ashes of Traveler of Graceful Crane, speechless for a long time. After quite a while, he couldn't help but ask in his mind, "Do you still think the primordial ancestor has no chance against the main branch of the Ephemera sect?" The old ancestor didn't respond. Inside the Mystic Heaven Cave mansion, Xuan sat at a stone table, performing the soul-capturing skill on Traveler of Graceful Crane's primordial spirit. Indeed, Traveler of Graceful Crane was not from the 9 dynasties. He came from the main branch of the Ephemera sect, having arrived early on. 300 years ago, the main branch of the Ephemera sect descended upon the land of the 9 dynasties. He and several fellow disciples scattered, the others enacted the primary branch's major plan, searching for suitable puppet sects, while he traveled alone, seeking immortal opportunities. His actions were unique due to his core disciple status within the primary branch, possessing a prestigious background. 200 years ago, he encountered the mighty LV Badian, realizing he wasn't an opponent, so he avoided it, hiding away for 200 years. The main branch of the Ephemera sect came to the land of the 9 dynasties knowing it would be devoured by demons. In their view, the human race here was doomed and better be fed to the Ephemera tree. The Ephemera tree craved the spiritual power and flesh of human cultivators. If it could devour the humans of the 9 dynasties, it could transcend the heavenly destiny, reaching the legendary 9th rank. At that time, the Ephemera tree could open the 9 Nether Road anytime, providing convenience for the primary branch of the Ephemera sect to act, traveling wherever they wanted. Through Traveler of Graceful Crane's memories, Xuan learned about the hierarchy within the primary branch of the Ephemera sect. Previously, he had slain Golden Spirit Venerable, one of the 100 venerables within the primary branch, each with a mystic heart realm cultivation level. The master of the primary branch had, 500 years ago, transcended the mystic heart realm to enter the legendary Mahayana realm. In other words, there was only one Mahayana realm cultivator in the primary branch of the Ephemera sect. 500 years could allow that branch master to reach the 9th layer of the Mahayana realm? Xuan pondered silently. Several ancient hours later, he withdrew his divine sense, then finished Traveler of Graceful Crane off, claiming 209 years of lifespan. Xuan's right hand rested on the book box, lightly tapping it with his finger, eyes flickering. No more waiting. Tomorrow, he would resolve the Ephemera tree below the 9 Nether Road to prevent any long-term worries. Anyway, if he didn't act, the primary branch of the Ephemera sect wouldn't just let it go. Chapter 118 Sword Venerable Fudao Strikes. Wuchen Wasteland. At dawn. Because of the overcast clouds in the sky, this wasteland had never seen the sun or moon. On top of a broken cliff, dozens of cultivators gathered, including Tian, the vice sect leader of the supreme sect. They looked towards the horizon, with worry etched on their faces. That female demon is simply too powerful. Without a mystic heart realm cultivator, no matter how many of us join forces, it will be useless. There is no mystic heart realm cultivator in our dynasty. Our sect once had one, but he left 800 years ago and has been hard to find. How many mystic heart realm great cultivators stand behind the ephemera sect? We have nowhere to go and cannot retreat. They were all leaders of various sects, all at the unification realm. Before the ephemera sect wreaked havoc, each of them was a legendary figure in the 9 dynasties' immortal cultivation world, possessing immense power to turn the tides. Yet now, after gathering for many days, they were at a loss, not daring to act rashly. Many unification realm cultivators had already died under the ephemera tree. Some had acted alone, and they had also launched total assaults, all ending in failure, the terror of the mystic heart realm paralyzing them. Tian suddenly raised his right hand. A ring on his index finger emitted a shimmering light that penetrated his brow. His face lit up with joy. Then he lowered his right hand and spoke, "Everyone, our Supreme Sect's Supreme Elder, Grandmaster Xuan, has returned and is on his way here. When he arrives, we can follow him in launching an attack. Our Grandmaster Xuan has already attained the mystic heart realm." This statement made all the sect leaders look at him with matching excitement and joy. For a moment, the praises for the Supreme Sect rose one after another, making Tian stand up proudly. Although the Supreme Sect was the strongest sect in the Taicang dynasty, it might not rank among the top 3 within the 9 dynasties. If they could achieve indelible merit in facing the calamity of the ephemera sect, they would surely become famous, attracting more families and cultivators in the future. The atmosphere on the cliff improved, and everyone saw hope in defeating the demon of the ephemera sect. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, under the rolling overcast clouds, hundreds of zhang tall ephemera tree stood like a gigantic demon, towering and ferocious. Vines hung down from the branches of the ephemera tree, most of them with corpses tied to the ends. Some were not completely dead, their bodies trembling slightly, eyes filled with blood, veins bulging in their necks, a pitiful sight. Amid the crowd, Jiang Qiong's delicate brows furrowed as she looked at the hanging cultivators. She couldn't help but touch a blood-colored ephemera seal on her wrist, her heart filled with worry. If this continued, she felt she would either be killed by the 9 dynasties' cultivators or be absorbed by the ephemera tree. She couldn't just sit and wait for death. But what could she do? The ephemera seal restricted her freedom. Jiang Qiong looked at the middle-aged man beside her and transmitted her voice, "Father, do you still trust the ephemera sect?" The middle-aged man sitting next to her was her father, Jiang Lang, one of the pavilion masters of the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. He had not only brought Jiang Qiong but also many disciples to join the ephemera sect. Jiang Lang's face was sullen, and he didn't answer. How could he not know he had been played, but what could he do now? There were countless corpses of Unification Realm and Void Crossing Realm cultivators hanging from the ephemera tree. With his abilities, how could he escape? He turned to look in another direction, where 4 cultivators sat on the outskirts of the ephemera sect's million followers, their auras so oppressive that no one dared to act recklessly. At present, only those closely connected to the ephemera sect's higher-ups or trusted individuals could leave. Jiang Lang was neither. He belonged to sect hierarch Zhongliang. He should have enjoyed authority, but with Zhongliang's fall, his followers were scattered and imprisoned. Even if accepted, they weren't trusted. Seeing her father's expression, Jiang Qiong knew she couldn't count on him. Indeed. From the beginning, the only person she could rely on was herself. Jiang Qiong looked back at the ephemera tree, her gaze becoming resolute. She absolutely couldn't fall here. Just as this thought surfaced, a burst of light illuminated her face, making her eyes widen. Not just her, but everyone was illuminated. The rolling clouds above the ephemera tree suddenly dissipated, revealing a nearly 1,000-mile-wide opening, with sunlight and scattered snowflakes falling through. The black-clad woman sitting on the array platform looked up, her eyes flashing sharply through her mask. Not just her, but the 4 great cultivators at the edges of the million-strong ephemera sect also looked up. Under the sunlight, the ephemera tree began to tremble, seemingly disliking the sunlight. Who are you, who dares to reveal yourself? The black-clad woman stood up and shouted loudly, her cold voice echoing through the heavens and earth. A figure appeared out of nowhere high above the ephemera tree. It was Xuan, performing the 9 extremes yin-yang body. Xuan looked down at everyone below, catching sight of Jiang. From high above, the millions of followers of the ephemera sect looked like prisoners, sitting on the ground, with some cultivators standing on the outskirts, clearly there to guard the seated followers. Trusting the ephemera sect led to such a result. It truly was tragic. Xuan swiftly cast lifespan detection on one after another. A second layer mystic heart realm, and 4 ninth layer unification realm. The ephemera tree beneath him had the same limited lifespan as the previous ephemera tree he had seen, and it was only a bit over 500 years old. To grow so quickly, how many people had it consumed? Xuan raised his right hand, conjuring a cyan sword shadow in his palm. Bold! The black-clad woman shouted angrily, killing intent flashing through her eyes as she appeared beside Xuan in one step, a blood-red sword in her hand, slashing at Xuan. The sword strike seemed to unleash thousands of evil ghosts towards Xuan, blood light covering the entire sky in an instant. But it was only for an instant. Boom! The black-clad woman was sent flying, crashing through the ground after passing over the heads of 1,000,000 followers, her life or death unknown. This scene shocked everyone. How could it be? Everyone cried out in their hearts. During this time, the black-clad woman had fully demonstrated her immense power, appearing nearly invincible. No matter how strong or renowned the attacking cultivators were, they were easily suppressed by her. Such a powerful being had no way to resist in front of this person. Xuan raised his left hand, and his index finger shot out a radiant beam, piercing through the swirling dust towards where the woman had fallen. An alert appeared in front of Xuan. You successfully seized 47 years of Night Cultivator Fairies, 2nd layer Mystic Heart Realm, lifespan. Not bad. Xuan's left hand reached out again, capturing the mystic heart of the Night Cultivator Fairy from afar. The mystic heart scattered the rolling dust, fell into his hand, and then he stored it in his storage bag. The 4 ninth layer Unification Realm great cultivators guarding the edges of the 1,000,000 ephemera sect followers saw the situation was dire and immediately fled in different directions. Xuan raised his hand, pointing 4 times. Breaking path divine light. 4 radiant beams shot out like falling stars. The gazes and divine senses of the 1,000,000 followers couldn't capture their trajectories, but everyone felt those 4 were doomed. The world fell into silence. The Thousand Autumn Pavilion has such a figure, Jiang Lang murmured. He was still in shock. Jiang was equally frightened. She was secretly glad she hadn't caused trouble in the Thousand Autumn Pavilion earlier. Sequential alerts appeared before Xuan. He released the cyan sword shadow in his right hand, pointing the sword tip at the ephemera tree. Feeling the threat, the ephemera tree trembled, releasing the corpses as the vines floated upwards. Under the watch of the 1,000,000 followers of the ephemera sect, a terrifying, twisted face emerged from the main trunk of the ephemera tree. What is that? A demon tree. It really is a demon tree. That face, we were deceived. No. Impossible, a deafening uproar erupted among the 1,000,000 followers. Unlike Jiang, most had come this far still harboring illusions or needing to cling to hope. Rumble, the ground quaked as enormous vines burst through and struck at Xuan, startling the crowd to soar into the sky, with some taking the chance to flee. Yet there were also those, including Jiang, who courageously charged into the 9 Nether Road. The cyan sword shadow in Xuan's palm burst forth with terrifying sword intent, descending like a divine weapon with dazzling light. That sword intent. Sword Venerable Fudao. During her flight, Jiang looked up at Xuan in horror. Sword Venerable Fudao was that powerful. The cyan sword shadow, carrying the sword intent of the Taicang divine shocking sword, fell. Cultivators barely lifted off, were unable to flee the battlefield before the cyan sword shadow descended on the ephemera tree. This time, the sword intent was overwhelming, forcefully suppressing the ephemera tree, reducing it to ashes from top to bottom. The sword's shadow hit the ground, shattering it, creating faults spreading rapidly in all directions, resembling an expanding spider web from the sky. Guan watched Zhang Qiong escape into the Nine Nether Road without stopping her. After today, Zhang Qiong would struggle to survive even if she stayed. He sensed dozens of Unification Realm auras rapidly approaching from a distance and immediately vanished. As for the million followers, Guan had considered slaughtering them but feared many, like Yang Ni and Leah, had been deceived or forced into the sect, making causality too complex, and he feared killing innocents. Wanton slaughter would be no different from the Ephemera sect. He didn't want to be seen as a great demon and later besieged by all. Yet, even so, his earlier sword had still killed many cultivators. That was not Guan's concern. Everyone must bear the consequences of their choices. Not killing them all was his way of exercising benevolence. Alert after alert appeared madly before Guan, who vanished from the spot. The ground continued to crack, dust rolling into the sky, billowing and vast. Tian and the others rushed in from afar. The wind mixed with dust blew in their faces, and their divine senses had already detected the destruction of the ephemera tree. Ha ha ha, our supreme sex sword Venerable Fudao has taken action. Tian couldn't help but laugh loudly, boasting of sword Venerable Fudao's strength. Another supreme sex cultivator? The sect leaders were moved. The previous sword intent had frightened them, making them feel it was impossible to reach such a height in a lifetime of cultivation. After the ephemera sect's destruction, they had to reassess the F. Chapter 119, Sword Venerable's Prestige. Lu Lingjun's guest Guan walked into Mystic Valley, scanning the disciples' cultivation along the way. He spotted Chu Jingfeng meditating under a tree with a wooden sword standing before him. He suddenly became interested and turned around to walk over. "Brother Chu, what are you doing?" Guan asked curiously. Chu Jingfeng opened his eyes and replied, "I'm contemplating my swordsmanship, trying to create a new sword technique." "Creating a sword technique? That's amazing. Why are you using a wooden sword? If you need a real sword, you can ask me." Guan praised him and then took out a treasure sword from his storage bag. Chu Jingfeng's storage bag had long been confiscated, and the spirit stones he earned doing odd jobs were kept in his house. Facing the gift of the sword, Chu Jingfeng shook his head and said, "No need. I want to comprehend pure swordsmanship, deriving it from the heart rather than from the sword itself." It sounded quite profound. Guan put away the sword and said with a smile, "If you need anything, just come to me anytime." After speaking, he headed towards his attic. Chu Jingfeng watched Guan's back, sensing his joyful mood. Though he is weak, he is always cheerful. Chu Jingfeng watched Guan's back silhouette silently, feeling a tinge of envy in his heart. Born into a wealthy family, he ended up imprisoned due to the family's power struggle. If he had the choice, he would prefer starting as a servant disciple, to avoid heavy burdens. Chu Jingfeng stopped thinking about it and resumed his sword enlightenment. After cultivating Daoist expansion skill, his cultivation level couldn't increase. He was too lazy to practice other spells, deciding to focus solely on sword enlightenment. Just like that mad swordsman Han Ming of Great Yu, who after attaining sword enlightenment, became unstoppable. Elsewhere. Back in his attic, Guan sat at his desk and brought up his attribute panel. His lifespan had skyrocketed by more than 300,000 years. This meant that during the extermination of the ephemera tree, he had killed thousands of ephemera sect cultivators. Guan suddenly understood why there were so many demon cultivators. He tried hard to calm his emotions and maintain his original heart, not falling into the demon path. It's still better to grow flowers and herbs. The lifespan provided by Mystic Heart Realm great cultivators is equivalent to that of 5th-tier medicinal herbs. For him, the benefits of killing enemies were not much different from harvesting herbs and might even invite potential trouble. Guan took out the Green Hero travelogue to shift his attention. Soon, he immersed himself in the love and grudges between the Green Hero and his beloved. Meanwhile, in the dustless wasteland, many cultivators flew through the air. Some were arriving, others were escorting ephemera sect cultivators away. On a cliff, Tian stood behind an elder in a white robe, respectfully recounting the earlier battle. That's how it happened, elder. It was all thanks to Sword Venerable Fudao. Who exactly is he among the Supreme Elders? The Mystic Heart Realm Great Cultivator had no way to resist him. Tian asked, trying hard to suppress his excitement. The intervention of Sword Venerable Fudao had thrilled him greatly and made him proud. Recalling the shocked expressions of other sect leaders, he felt immensely satisfied. The elder standing before him, who had just returned, was Supreme Elder Xuan. Supreme Elder Xuan remained silent, closing his eyes as well. Tian did not disturb him, thinking that the Supreme Elder was contemplating who Sword Venerable Fudao might be. Little did he know, Supreme Elder Xuan was deeply shocked inside. Which Supreme Elder in the Supreme Sect was this powerful? However, he had heard stories of Sword Venerable Fudao upon his return, which at least suggested the other party's heart was aligned with the Supreme Sect, most likely being a member, though not a Supreme Elder. He had encountered similar situations overseas, where extraordinary talents would emerge in those super sects, stepping forward during the sect's crisis. This was known as the sect's great fortune. Could it be that the Supreme Sect also had such great fortune? Supreme Elder Xuan slowly opened his eyes and said, Sword Venerable Fudao hides his identity because he doesn't want to be disturbed. The more this is the case, the less we should probe into his identity. We should even find ways to protect his information. But his achievements must be widely publicized to strengthen his sense of belonging to the Supreme Sect. Otherwise, over time, he may leave, feeling that the Supreme Sect has no benefits for him and only drags him down. Elder, I think the same. I've already sent a message to the sect leader, asking him to publicize this matter, Tian said with a smile. The Supreme Sect had survived another catastrophe. According to ancient laws, it would rise triumphantly after a disaster. Go about your business. I'll check the entrance to 9 Nether Road. Perhaps this path could become an opportunity for the Supreme Sect. After saying this, Supreme Elder Xuan vanished into thin air. Tian turned around and left, preparing to discuss with other sects how to handle 9 Nether Road. As the year's end approached, Xuan went to the outer gates city to find Wuju, bringing wine and roasted chicken. Seeing him, Wuju was delighted, pulling him inside. After closing the door, Wuju excitedly said, Brother Gu, why are you here? This was the first time anyone had voluntarily visited him. How could he not be happy? Just to see you, fearing you might be bored. Xuan replied with a smile, though he truly wanted to see if Wuju had had any further enlightenment. Unfortunately, he had not. Xuan wished to witness Wuju's continuous enlightenment, surpassing the Supreme Sect's geniuses. For him, enlightenment was optional. After all, he could increase his lifespan through other means. He considered enlightenment out of boredom and to see if he could find a way to help extend the lifespan of those around him. So far, enlightenment seemed quite difficult, not achievable merely through deep experiences or rich emotions. Wuju placed bowls and chopsticks on the table, while Xuan set down the wine and roasted chicken, observing the room and noting no changes. Wuju's cultivation had risen from Foundation Establishment Realm 2nd layer at the end of his enlightenment to Foundation Establishment Realm 4th layer. How long had it been? His talents seemed higher than that limited by extreme longevity. Judging by his living environment, it appeared Wuju had not sought another master. By the way, have you heard about Sword Venerable Fudao's deeds? He single-handedly defeated the Ephemera sect, unbelievably. Thousands of fellow sects couldn't vanquish that demon, but he killed it in 2 moves. He's even more impressive than Guyu from the Supreme Immortal Venerable. While pouring wine for Xuan, Wuju said with a smile. The Supreme Sect was already abuzz with Sword Venerable Fudao's legend, and not just Wuju, servant disciples from the 3rd Medicine Valley and Mystic Valley were discussing it. Visiting Tianya Valley a few days ago, Luo Hun had also inquired about this. Of course I've heard, truly impressive. I wonder what he's like in person, Xuan said with a laugh. The two began discussing Sword Venerable Fudao, toasting back and forth, quickly finishing a jar of wine. Wu Ju pulled out a secret book from his pocket, saying, "Brother Gu, this is a fist technique I exchanged for all my savings. Take a look and practice it when you get home." Guan hurriedly refused. "How can I accept this?" "No, I can't take advantage of you." "What do you mean, take advantage?" "You're my only friend, and learning some combat techniques is never a bad thing. I've come to realize that the immortal cultivation world is rarely peaceful for decades, with conflicts between righteous and demonic paths erupting frequently," Wu Ju said earnestly. Hearing this, Guan had no choice but to accept. He began to read through the fist technique. Sunset Fist. After a quick look, Guan memorized it all and returned the secret book to Wu Ju. Wu Ju was stunned, asking, "So quickly? You don't like it?" Guan replied, "I'm not fond of fighting. This fist technique is too aggressive for me." Wu Ju smiled wryly. "When cultivators fight, it's a matter of life and death unless you stay in the Supreme Sect forever." "Huh, I really want to stay here forever." "Fine then." Not wanting to take advantage of him, Guan took out a swordsmanship book, saying, "I have a sword technique here, would you like to see?" "No need. Though I respect Sword Venerable Fudao, I don't like using swords. Or rather, I don't like using magic artifacts in battle. I only trust my fists and feet." Wu Ju waved his hand, displaying his muscular arm. Guan chuckled and took out the Gale Shadowless Leg secret book, saying, "How about this one?" Wu Ju glanced at it, instantly unable to look away. "It sounds impressive, must be valuable." "No worries, take it. If you become important in the Supreme Sect one day, don't forget about me," Guan said. Hearing this, Wu Ju hesitated no longer, eagerly taking the book and reading it intently. Guan picked up his wine bowl, gazing at the focused Wu Ju. Who could imagine his demeanor 1,000 years from now? With the arrival of spring, the snow season extended, not ceasing even by the time of the spring festival. The third Medicine Valley became lively, with the attic area adorned with lanterns and festive decorations. The disciples were busy, their faces beaming with smiles. Guan sat at a long table in the courtyard, watching the bustling disciples with a smile. Having many people was good, no need for him to toil. Guan glanced at Lu Lingjun, who was making paper cuts among the female disciples, looking virtuous and gentle, contrasting her Unification Realm 9th layer cultivation level. Xuan approached excitedly. "Senior brother, they're building a statue of Sword Venerable Fudao next to the Heavenly Repair platform. It's grand. You must see it next time you go." He had also started cultivating the Daoist expansion skill, though less enthusiastically than Chu Jingfeng or Lu Jiujia. He had accepted his aptitude and enjoyed life honestly. Guan could only respect this, as forcing cultivation was not possible. Besides, practicing the skill seriously only delayed aging, not prevented it. "Is that so? I should indeed take a look." Guan raised his eyebrows and smiled. The Supreme Sect's attitude pleased him, giving him due respect. Xuan continued narrating changes in the outer gate as Guan sensed LV Badian flying over. Soon, LV Badian landed. Xuan immediately got up and left, not daring to intrude. "Let's talk inside," LV Badian said, making his way into the attic. Lu Lingjun glanced over, curious. What was Gu An's true identity? Why did this Unification Realm 9th layer great cultivator constantly seek him? Could Guan be hiding his cultivation, not as weak as he appeared? These thoughts swirled in Lu Lingjun's mind, urging her to find an opportunity to talk with Xuan. Meanwhile, inside, Guan shut the door, and LV Badian placed a restriction, then sat down, asking, "There's a great opportunity, do you want it?" Chapter 120 Sword Intent Shocks the Sect. No. Guan refused outright, thinking, how could the Supreme Sect have any opportunities after just experiencing a calamity? LV Badian was stunned for a moment, not expecting such a blunt refusal. Instantly annoyed, he said, "You brat, I haven't even told you what the opportunity is." Guan sat down and said, "I won't be the sect leader, I won't write books, and I won't entertain disturbances from the holy sons or holy daughters anymore." LV Badian laughed in anger after hearing that. "In your eyes, am I that kind of person? I just don't want trouble, did I wrong you? If so, I apologize," Guan said seriously. LV Badian's face froze, then he gave a faux cough and said, "Naturally, you have wronged me. I came to find you for other matters." "What matters?" "You must have heard of the Nine Nether Road. It has now been sealed off by the 9 dynasties working together, with each sect sending cultivators to guard it. Even the main lineage of the Ephemera sect would find it hard to shake. Now, the sects of the 9 dynasties are leading disciples to train on the 9 Nether Road, where demons roam freely. You can kill demons and seize treasures. Moreover, the spiritual energy is rich, making it suitable for cultivation. LV Badian spoke slowly, which indeed surprised Guan. He hadn't expected the 9 Nether Road to be turned into a training ground like a secret realm. Guan asked, "Isn't the 9 Nether Road supposed to be dangerous?" "It is dangerous, so great cultivators will lead the disciples for training. I want to give you a spot so that when you enter the 9 Nether Road, someone will protect your life. You can cultivate, kill demons, or search for treasures. No matter what you do, someone will have your back. Isn't that a great opportunity? Furthermore, the Supreme Sect plans to build a city inside the 9 Nether Road for disciples to rest and cultivate." LV Badian spoke passionately, full of ambition. He believed that if he developed the 9 Nether Road well, the Supreme Sect would soar to new heights, possibly entering its most prosperous period ever, and his status in the sect's history would rise accordingly. Guan listened carefully and thought it indeed seemed feasible. LV Badian seemed intent on changing a long-standing trend where cultivators would leave the 9 dynasties' lands after reaching the unification realm to seek opportunities elsewhere. LV Badian wanted to enhance the foundation of the Supreme Sect, making it stronger so future disciples wouldn't need to venture out for opportunities. The 9 Nether Road was his first step. He also planned to establish a sea route, led by the newly returned elder Xuan. He spoke more and more passionately, almost declaring his intention to unify the continent. Guan listened with great interest, admiring LV Badian's vision. The stronger the Supreme Sect, the better it would be for him to benefit from its shade. After a long while, LV Badian finally ended his endless speech and looked at Guan, asking, "So, will you go?" Guan shook his head and said, "I won't go. I need to stay and look after the Medicine Valley. Someone else can look after it as well. No, I can't relax. Honestly, I'm scared. I always feel the 9 Nether Road is very dangerous, and my combat ability is weak. I won't go. How about this, I give my spot to someone else, is that okay? You don't want to go, yet you want to give away your spot? I have contributed to the Supreme Sect too. This huge Medicine Valley, I didn't embezzle anything. Shouldn't you reward me?" Looking at Guan's righteous look, LV Badian shook his head and smiled. After thinking about it, he still agreed to Guan's request. Giving the spot to someone close to Guan would still increase Guan's sense of belonging to the Supreme Sect. LV Badian didn't believe he couldn't hand off the sect leader position. He was determined to give it to Guan. In the long run, Guan would eventually accept it. Thinking of this, LV Badian smiled, filled with anticipation. How do you think the Supreme Sect can become the #1 sect of the 9 dynasties? LV Badian suddenly asked, wanting to test Guan while guiding him toward the mindset of a sect leader. Guan answered directly, "Using force won't work, it easily accumulates hatred. We can use cultural infiltration." Just like the previous Outer Sect Conference, the Supreme Sect could host various conferences in the future, such as formation, alchemy, sword competition, talisman crafting, etc. We should strive to make the Supreme Sect hold grand events that attract the attention of the 9 dynasties every few years. The initial investment might be huge, but once people get used to it, they will gradually recognize the Supreme Sect as the orthodox sect. Imagine, if you just stepped onto the path of the sword cultivator and heard that the Supreme Sect sword competition was a must-attend event, an opportunity to make a name for oneself, you would subconsciously think that the Supreme Sect holds a high position in the sword Tao. When people frequently mention the Supreme Sect, or when the Supreme Sect becomes the most frequently mentioned sect by the populace, the Supreme Sect won't be far from becoming the greatest sect. Of course, the sect's own strength is the most important. Xuan spoke eloquently. After hearing LV Baitian's long talk, he decided to pontificate. LV Baitian soon became absorbed in listening, and seeing him paying close attention, Xuan became even more enthusiastic, discussing the details. It couldn't just be competitions of strength, it would be best to have other competitions of skills. These events could be held in different outer sect and inner sect cities, driving the economic development of these cities. Elder Xuan stroked his beard and said, "Such domineering sword intent, it could be recognized as the foremost sword Dao of the Taicang dynasty." His comment made the elders even more excited, and they began discussing Enhao's background and talent. Elder Xuan, meanwhile, waved his sleeve, and flags flew out from it, surrounding Enhao. The flag started to gather nature's spiritual energy, pouring it into Enhao's body. Chapter 121, The Battle of the World's #1 Enhao's Taicang divine shocking sword intent shook the entire Supreme Sect, causing countless disciples to discuss it fervently. The sword intent lingered for several hours before it dissipated. In the following days, various rumors emerged. The only certainty was that the pressure came from a sword intent, which led to an increasing number of sword cultivators gathering at the heavenly repair platform. Xuan's days had been quite peaceful. He moved between the 3 medicine valleys, occasionally visiting the mystic Heaven Cave mansion at night, and spent the rest of the time enjoying life. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. Xuan turned 62 years old. The news of Sword Venerable Fudeo's eradication of the ephemera sect demons had just truly spread throughout the immortal cultivation world. Xuan often heard people in the outer sect talking about it, and Sword Venerable Fudao had already earned the reputation of being the foremost sword cultivator of the Taicang dynasty. Some even thought he was the best in the world. That day at noon, Xuan stood at the edge of the heavenly repair platform, looking at the 100-foot-tall stone statue ahead, feeling pleased. This 100-foot-tall stone statue was the divine statue of Sword Venerable Fudao, crafted in the posture of Xuan performing his 9 extremes yin-yang body. The demonic chi around him was sculpted into an aura. The statue had one hand pointing diagonally and the other holding a sword, exuding an imposing air. At this moment, it wasn't just Xuan who was observing the divine statue of the Sword Venerable. There were also over a dozen others gazing up, each discussing among themselves. Listening to their words of admiration for Sword Venerable Fudao, Xuan felt even more delighted. Fame across the world, who wouldn't want that? Xuan wanted it too, but he feared others discovering his life-stealing ability, so he kept a low profile. However, being able to make a name for himself under another identity still satisfied his vanity. Sword Venerable Fudao may indeed be the foremost sword cultivator of the Taicang dynasty, but he is not necessarily the best in the world. A voice drew Xuan's attention, as well as the gaze of many disciples around. The speaker was a man in blue attire, holding a folding fan. With an elegant demeanor and a handsome, calm face, it was as if the outrageous words just now hadn't come from his mouth. A burly inner sect disciple looked at the man in blue and said in a deep voice, "Oh? Then pray tell, who is the best sword cultivator in the world?" By now, Sword Venerable Fudao was the pride of all Supreme Sect disciples, and they wouldn't tolerate any questioning. The man in blue responded, "In the westernmost land, within Tian Wei, there is a sword cultivator called Daoist Tianjian. His tone was arrogant, as if Daoist Tianjian's victory over Sword Venerable Fudao was assured, further displeasing the Supreme Sect disciples. An elder appeared beside Xizhe out of thin air, said a few words using sound transmission skill, causing Siege's face to change slightly. He snorted, "Let's go. Anyway, the challenge has been issued. Whether or not Sword Venerable Fudao accepts it is his business." He then left with the elder. Guan watched his departing figure, growing cautious. Sword Venerable Fudao had just thwarted the ephemera sect's conspiracy and was at the height of his fame. For someone to dare step forward now, they must be very capable. Guan didn't dwell on it and turned to leave the heavenly repair platform, intending to check on Wu Ju. A month ago, Wu Ju's maximum lifespan had increased again, making Guan even more interested in him and curious about the potential limit of his lifespan. Third Medicine Valley, inside a loft. LV Badian scoffed, "Tian Wei is quite ambitious, wanting to suppress the Supreme Sect to seize control over the Nine Nether Road. Though strong, Daoist Tianjian is courting death by coming to the Supreme Sect." A month had passed since Sije issued his challenge, and the upcoming duel had spread throughout the Taicang immortal cultivation world. Cultivators from various sects and regions were flocking to watch. LV Badian seized the opportunity to promote the Golden List in various cities. The so-called Golden List was a ranking of the world's most talented individuals under the age of 500, encompassing the 9 dynasties. It caused quite a stir. Guan worriedly asked, "Will there be internal strife among the sects of the 9 dynasties?" "You can rest assured, the demon calamity is imminent, and no one dares to act recklessly. Furthermore, the main lineage of the ephemera sect may cause chaos on the 9 Nether Road. At that time, the sects of the 9 dynasties must unite. Otherwise, one-on-one, none can guarantee the defeat of the main lineage of the ephemera sect. That's precisely why Tian Wei asked Daoist Tianjian to act, in the name of sparring to suppress us." LV Badian waved dismissively. Guan asked again, "If Sword Venerable Fudao kills Daoist Tianjian, want to trigger a war?" Just when Han Ming had come, now another one. Guan couldn't tolerate it. This time, he needed to strike, preventing such troubles from arising continuously. Naturally not. If even Daoist Tianjian is dead, Tian Wei will only be more wary of the Supreme Sect. It's best if Sword Venerable Fudao slays Daoist Tianjian. LV Badian snorted, a fierce look on his face. Guan suddenly remembered that this guy had once been impeached by the Hall of Elders due to his tyrannical behavior. LV Badian's tone shifted, "And how is a disciple of Sword Venerable Fudao? Do you think his appearance in front of me is a reminder from the Sword Venerable?" "A reminder of what?" Chapter 122 The Real Taicang Divine Shocking Sword, What's Wrong? Leah asked in his mind, puzzled. He couldn't wait to return to the inner sect's cave, to cultivate properly and then become famous throughout the world. The voice of the Ancestor rang out, "Look at the person next to you, he's actually gaining enlightenment." His tone was heavy, even carrying a hint of shock. Gaining enlightenment? Leah was confused, unable to stop himself from turning his head to look. His gaze quickly fell on Wu Ju. Wu Ju appeared very out of it, starkly different from the energetic disciples of the Supreme Sect around him. Was he gaining enlightenment? What kind of enlightenment? Thinking about a cultivation technique? Leah asked in his heart. The Ancestor replied, "Gaining enlightenment is a special state, something one can encounter but not seek. During the process of gaining enlightenment, one can feel the heaven and earth true meaning, which leads to a transformation in both comprehension and physical aptitude. Those who can gain enlightenment, even if only once, can defy fate and rewrite their destiny. Even I have never gained enlightenment. I have only seen a friend of mine who had. If he were still alive, he would undoubtedly be one of the top experts in the 9 dynasties of the immortal cultivation world. So amazing." Leah examined Wu Ju carefully but couldn't see how Wu Ju was different. He looked quite ordinary, even less impressive than his junior brother Gu. At least his junior brother Gu was handsome and easily likable. The Supreme Sect truly hides dragons and crouching tigers. Not to mention LV Xian and Ji Xiaoyu, the cultivation speed of Anhao is unprecedented in history. Anyway, I've never heard of such a prodigious talent before. Now you encounter someone gaining enlightenment. The younger they are when they gain enlightenment, the greater their potential. This boy looks about your age. In the future, he will probably soar to great heights. The fortune of the supreme sect is unstoppable. The ancestor's tone was filled with emotion. He also felt pressured. Remembering his promises to Leah, he was filled with shame. He had promised to help Leah ascend to the peak of immortal cultivation and become number one in the world. But seeing LV Xian and Ji Xiaoyu, and hearing the legends of Anhao, he felt the pressure. The talent of these three was too exaggerated, and their backgrounds far surpassed Leah's. The ancestor thought he couldn't provide Leah with an advantage in cultivation resources. It's a good thing that the supreme sect is so powerful. With rivals, I have something to look forward to, Leah thought confidently, leaving the ancestor unsure of how to respond. After a long time, the ancestor finally spoke. Just stay nearby. When he wakes up, ask him if he has a master. If not, accept him for me. Huh? I accept him as a disciple? Of course not, he will be my disciple. What do you mean? If he is your disciple, isn't he my ancestor? Be content. Without my help, you wouldn't even have the qualifications to compete with such a genius. The ancestor said rudely. Although Leah was annoyed, he didn't argue back. He began to wait, while contemplating the sword intent of the Taicang divine shocking sword. He waited for an entire night. The next morning, Wu Ju finally woke up. He had gained enlightenment more than once, so his expression remained calm. He turned to leave, but Leah stopped him. Brother, do you have a master? Leah asked directly. Wu Ju's eyes flashed with coldness. He bypassed Leah and walked toward the stage. Leah blocked him again, which made Wu Ju furious. He raised his hand to push Leah away. Leah's physical body was strong. He was not afraid of this foundation establishment realm cultivator. Wu Ju's right hand pressed against Leah's shoulder. Feeling the strength of his opponent, he clenched his fist and pushed hard. Leah was caught off guard and was pushed back 2 steps. Before he could react, Wu Ju controlled his sword and flew away, making it difficult for Leah to chase him since causing trouble in the city was prohibited. How is this possible, such great strength? Leah was shocked and bewildered. The ancestor sighed in his heart, it's a pity, don't chase him. Avoid making enemies. Leah lost his smile. As a core formation realm cultivator, he had been pushed away by a foundation establishment realm cultivator. He had taken the dragon image divine primordial, a treasure pursued by the demon clan. It was too humiliating. No way. I'm still not strong enough. Leah clenched his fists, his arrogance disappearing. In autumn, the outer gates city became bustling with activity. Guan and Wu Ju gathered in an inn, drinking and chatting, waiting for the upcoming battle. Wu Ju was complaining to Guan about meeting Leah last month. At the mention of Leah, he became furious, feeling that Leah had insulted him. Guan nodded after listening, saying, indeed, it's quite odd. Asking such a question out of nowhere, never mind. Don't think about him, he is just a passerby in your life. You will become a genius eventually, why bother with such a small role? Although the person Wu Ju spoke of was a bit despicable, Guan thought it wasn't worth holding a grudge. Wu Ju didn't need to worry about such small matters. When Wu Ju grew up, he couldn't imagine. Would he kill anyone he disliked? He didn't want Wu Ju to become such a person. Wu Ju nodded, saying, naturally, I won't hold a grudge. I'm just venting to you. You know, you are my only friend. Guan asked, when will you reveal your talent? The inn was crowded, most people were chatting about sword Venerable Fudao and Daoist Tian, not paying attention to them. Chapter 123, Number 1 in the World. In the outer gate city, Daoist Tianjian stood motionless on a giant sword of white light. The autumn wind made his robe, white hair, and beard flutter, making him look transcendent as if he could ascend to immortality at any moment. The eaves of every building in the city were crowded with disciples, not only of the supreme sect but also cultivators from other sects and families, all eager to see who was the greatest sword master of the time. Billowing dark clouds surged from the horizon, swiftly covering the entire city, increasing the tension. Everyone dared not speak loudly, only whispering to each other. Wu Ju stood on an eave, facing the wind. The wind grew stronger, forcing him to cultivate energy to keep his hair from blocking his vision. What a powerful presence, truly like that of an immortal. Why hasn't Sword Venerable Fudao appeared yet? This battle can't be avoided, even the Prince of Tianwei has come to challenge us. Don't worry, the Venerable will definitely come. Even the mad swordsman of Great Yu had to wait for a while when he challenged him before. What's the hurry? A good show needs to be savored. Listening to the discussions around him, Wu Ju's eyes were filled with longing. He wondered when he would achieve such prestige. In the future, he too wanted to have such a widely anticipated duel with the top experts of the time. He hoped his opponent would be Sword Venerable Fudao. Boom, the dark clouds suddenly changed, and thunder roared. A majestic celestial force descended, enveloping the outer gate city. He's here, Xian Quan said softly, drawing the eyes of those around him. And Hao was particularly excited, clenching his fists. Daoist Tianjian, standing on the giant sword of white light, also opened his eyes. He looked up at the boundless thunderclouds. The thunderclouds covered the entire sky, with lightning bolts like writhing dragons, making countless cultivators feel the pressure, as if a great catastrophe was impending. Thunder roared continuously, and the wind howled through the heavens and earth. Daoist Tianjian stood on the hilt of his sword, his white robe flaring like white flames burning fiercely. Sword Venerable Fudao, why do you not show yourself? Is this how the Supreme Sect treats its guests? His voice echoed, cold and indifferent. On the heavenly repair platform, Han Ming sneered. He didn't even get to meet Sword Venerable Fudao back then, and now you think you can? Just wait to be defeated. Shen Zhen had already sketched the figure of Daoist Tianjian. She took out another sheet of paper and continued to draw, first capturing the oppressive scene of the sky filled with thunderclouds. Face your demise with your strongest swordsmanship. A deep, hoarse voice rang out, making Li Ya and An Hao incredibly excited. I come from a very far place. While exploring a great power's cave, I encountered a mysterious formation and got transported here. Unable to find my way back, I decided to settle in the Supreme Sect. I hope the Valley Master could help introduce me. Guan asked in surprise, with your cultivation level, you can openly join the Supreme Sect. Why need my introduction? The Supreme Sect has strict rules. With my cultivation level, I can only become a guest elder, which means years of waiting. I noticed the Valley Master has connections. With your help, I could avoid decades of struggle, Lu Lingjun said seriously. As she spoke, she took out 3 bottles from her sleeve and said, these are heavenly spirit water as a token of gratitude. I hope the Valley Master likes them. Seeing this, Gu An's expression turned stern. This is nonsense. If you do this, it will seem as if I only helped you because of your gift. What would people think of me? He gathered the 3 bottles in front of him. Lu Lingjun laughed and said, how could that be? These heavenly spirit waters are only to thank the Valley Master for your care during this time. I see. You've been thoughtful. Guan smiled with satisfaction and then motioned Lu Lingjun to sit down. He began to explain some matters to her, mainly about the structure of the supreme sect, pointing out the importance of family influence to avoid making enemies. Initially, Lu Lingjun didn't take it seriously, but as she listened, she realized Guan was genuinely considering her situation, and she became earnest. Autumn passed and winter came, covering the third Medicine Valley in snow. On this day, LV Badian came to visit Guan. Seeing his figure, Lu Lingjun knew her opportunity had arrived. Guan didn't disappoint her. Half an hour later, Guan and LV Badian came downstairs, and Guan waved to Lu Lingjun from afar. She quickly approached them, and LV Badian sized her up and said, "Guan has told me everything. Follow me to get your disciple token replaced." Lu Lingjun immediately thanked LV Badian and bowed to Guan. Guan smiled and nodded, then watched them fly away. Xuan came over, astonished, and asked, "Why did Lu Lingjun leave? Didn't you notice she flew very fast?" Guan asked, then turned to leave. Xuan was puzzled and followed him, asking, "What do you mean? Wasn't it that elder who flew her away?" Xuan: "Yes, senior brother. Sometimes having a big heart is a good thing. Keep it that way." Huh. Guan ignored Xuan and walked towards the heavenly spirit pond. Watching the carp in the pond had become one of his pleasures. Earlier, LV Badian had sought him to discuss the Golden List Conference and the world's first sword society. Not wanting to exhaust himself with future military strategies, he hadn't offered many opinions, so LV Badian hadn't stayed long. The coming days should be peaceful for many years. Guan thought to himself. Chapter 125, Golden List's Note, Ghost in the Night. The person behind him is not simple. Lu Lingjun used the sound transmission skill to remind Guan, her gaze bypassing Zhou Tongyu to look at the fat elder behind him. Guan had already seen the opponent's cultivation level but still cast a lifespan detection. Zhou Li, Unification Realm, 7th layer 1478/3000/3100, surname Zhou again. Guan was curious. When Zhou Tongyu came last time, there was no great cultivator following him. Zhou Tongyu looked at Lu Lingjun and smiled, "Brother Gu, it's been many years, and you have experts protecting you. It seems you have done quite well these years." Guan smiled and asked, "I wonder if Brother Zhou is here to participate in the Golden List tournament this time?" "Indeed, this time, I aim to take the top spot and become famous." "What do you say, a spar at your Medicine Valley?" Zhou Tongyu asked with burning eyes. Although it had been many years, Guan's cultivation level was still mediocre, but he felt Guan had his strengths. Guan shook his head and said, "Forget it, I won't ask for trouble now. Supreme Sect is full of geniuses these days, you should find someone else." I came early to visit after hearing of Enhao's fame. "Since you are unwilling, I will go find Enhao now," Zhou Tongyu said laughingly. After speaking, he turned and left. Zhou Li, in the Unification Realm's 7th layer, smiled and nodded at Lu Lingjun, then followed Zhou Tongyu. After they had walked away, Lu Lingjun turned around and asked, "A nascent soul realm cultivator wants to spar with you?" Zhou Tongyu had already achieved the nascent soul realm and did not conceal his aura at all. "At that time, he suppressed his cultivation level to spar with me, and I slightly had the upper hand," Guan said, pretending to be proud. Lu Lingjun chuckled and said, "I didn't think you had this skill. Indeed, appearances can be deceiving." After 5 years together, they were already familiar, lacking formalities. Of course, she still had grievances regarding LV Badian's arrangements, so her attitude towards Guan was not as respectful as before. "What are you saying, am I not handsome?" "A bit handsome, good enough to be a cauldron for a female demon." Cough, cough, you are a female cultivator, please mind your words." Guan gave Lu Lingjun a sidelong glance and then walked forward. Since Lu Lingjun was sent back, her temperament had changed, and Guan felt awkward, knowing he was at fault, he could only compromise. Blame LV Badian. What kind of arrangement was this? Guan didn't need Lu Lingjun's protection. Fortunately, Lu Lingjun was also slack. The reason she came to the outer sect today was for her matter, and she just accompanied him. Lu Lingjun looked at Guan's back, snorted, and then walked in another direction. Guan prepared to visit Wuju. He found that there were many great cultivators in the city, most of them hiding their cultivation level. It seemed that the Golden List tournament would cause trouble. If the Supreme Sect succeeded, it would be easier to host such tournaments in the future, and other sects would not sit idly by. Guan was not worried at all. Besides Xian Quan, another Supreme Elder had recently returned to the Supreme Sect, whose cultivation was slightly weaker than Xian Quan but still in the Mystic Heart Realm. With 2 Mystic Heart Realm Elders guarding, it would not be easy for other sects to shake Supreme Sect. In 30 minutes, Guan arrived at Wuju's courtyard. Wuju was practicing punches in the yard, without mobilizing spiritual power, only practicing moves. Bare-chested, he looked very strong, and each punch could shake the space. Wuju, Foundation Establishment Realm, 9th Layer 69/350/3500, his maximum lifespan had increased again. Guan noticed that whenever he did not check on Wuju for more than 2 months, Wuju would gain enlightenment. In 1 year, he visited every month, but Wuju could not gain enlightenment. After enlightenment, Wuju emitted a solitary, lonely aura. This made Guan have odd thoughts. Could it be that as long as Wuju is neglected, he will gain enlightenment? He decided not to check on him for the next year and see how far Wuju could gain enlightenment. Guan hoped that Wuju would catch up with Anhao, this way, Anhao would have more rivals and not become overly arrogant. Smooth sailing was not always good. Seeing Guan, Wuju glanced at him without making a sound. "Look what good thing I brought you." Guan's voice came. Upon hearing, Wuju reluctantly walked towards Guan and asked, "What good thing?" Guan took out an invitation from his storage bag, with golden edges and a red background, engraved with 4 large characters. Golden List Tournament. "You? How do you have this?" Wuju asked in surprise. The Golden List Tournament was not for everyone. Participants needed certain fame and had to pay 10 top-grade spirit stones for an invitation. The rewards for the Golden List Tournament were also very rich. The top 100 winners all received prizes, with higher ranks yielding better rewards. Wuju had naturally heard of it and envied those talents. Guan smiled proudly and said, "I put in a lot of effort. But with my cultivation level, it's useless to participate." Wuju shook his head. Guan comforted him, "Don't worry. The Golden List Tournament compares talent, not cultivation level. As long as your strength in the same realm is strong enough, you can stand out." Really? Really? Since he set the rules, how could it not be true? Guan thought to himself. Wuju lacked resources, staying hidden was not a solution. In reality, Wuju wanted to stand out but was too shy to ask for help. Chapter 126, Immortal King Crown. Evil Emperor Guan threw lifespan detection at the 13 figures in the forest one after another, and found that the cultivation levels of these 13 people were the same, all at the 3rd level of the unification realm, and their ages were also the same. They all had the surname Li. Guan could not help but think of the 9 Nether 13 evil that had alarmed the immortal cultivation world before. What were these people doing at the Supreme Sect? There were still a few years left before the Golden List Conference. Seeing that they were not moving quickly, Guan did not hurry to stop them, wanting to see what these guys were up to. That large coffin attracted Guan's attention. His divine sense probed into the coffin and found a skeleton. The skeleton emitted a bizarre feeling, and there was a dark golden crown on its head. The crown's gemstones had disappeared, leaving several grooves, yet it still seemed extraordinary. About half an hour passed. 13 figures all stopped in unison. The leader, Li Shoyo, turned around and waved his hand. The 4 people carrying the large coffin followed suit and put it down, then began to open it. Just as the cover of the coffin was about to open, a hand suddenly pressed down on it. The 13 people all looked at the end of the coffin, only to see Xuan standing there, shrouded in dark purple demonic chi, his right hand pressing down on the coffin lid. The forest fell into silence. These 13 people did not run and did not attack. The other 12 all looked at Li Shoyo. Their entire bodies were pitch black, like ghostly shadows, their true appearances unclear and their emotions indiscernible. Li Shoyo nodded slightly, then knelt down. Seeing this, the other 12 followed suit and knelt down. The 9 nether 13 evil pay respects to Sword Venerable Fudao. Li Shoyo said in a deep voice, not loud but clearly articulated. Xuan was surprised. Were these people specifically looking for him? No wonder their actions were strange, not like invaders. Xuan spoke, give me a reason not to destroy you. These 13 should be ghost cultivators, shrouded in ghostly energy, but still possessing human chi blood and vitality. Li Shoyo answered, we are the 9 nether 13 evil, sent by the ghost mother of ephemera, to present the immortal king crown to Sword Venerable Fudao, to help the venerable return to the position of land immortal. Ghost mother of ephemera? Xuan was even more astonished. The cultivation level of the ghost mother of ephemera was even one small realm lower than the 9 nether 13 evil. How could she command these people? Why? Xuan asked. He did not sense any hostility from these 13, indicating they might not be lying. Li Shoyo responded, this is the ghost mother's command. Chapter 127, Path of Returning Primordial Spirit. Completely becoming a dragon, Xuan was merely puzzled and had no intention of investigating LV Badian or LV Xian. No matter what these people's identities were, or what conspiracy they might have, as long as it didn't affect him, he couldn't be bothered to care. The hearts of the people in this world were unpredictable. To investigate each one would be exhausting. Xuan and LV Xian started to chat idly. Now, LV Xian was very respectful towards him and didn't dare to be even a little frivolous. They chatted for quite a while before Xuan finally left. Everyone in the valley was already used to him not spending the night in Tian Valley. After Xuan left, LV Xian found Iluyun and began to spar in combat, preparing for the Golden Ranking Tournament. There were only 2 years left until the Golden Ranking Tournament. Years passed by, and the 9 dynasties' lands welcomed peace, while the Supreme Sect's Golden Ranking Tournament drew the attention of people from all over the world, becoming a once-in-century grand event. 2 years later, as the Golden Ranking Tournament approached, cultivators could be seen soaring across the sky over Mystic Valley every day. Unlike before, the Supreme Sect dispatched many disciples to patrol and protect all outer sect servant disciples, maintaining their image as the true orthodox sect of the world. 72-year-old Xuan was in the loft, receiving Yilan. The first batch of disciples who went to train on the 9 Nether Road had all returned and were all preparing to participate in the Golden Ranking Tournament to bring glory to the Supreme Sect. Having not seen each other for many years, Yilan's temperament had become even more outstanding, showing the demeanor of a genius female cultivator. She remembered Gu An's words and had been continually cultivating Daoist expansion skill, so her cultivation level hadn't increased. The two sat and chatted, with Yilan recounting the wonders of the 9 Nether Road, and Xuan listened with keen interest. The 9 Nether Road, which was said to be a road, was actually more like a secret realm, with demons and ghosts running rampant, having its own unique ecosystem and producing many special heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Yilan said that she also encountered cultivators and members of the demon clan not from the 9 dynasties' lands within the 9 Nether Road. From her descriptions, Xuan envisioned many scenes in his mind and found them very interesting. After chatting for a full hour, Xuan finally asked, will you be participating in the Golden Ranking Tournament? Yilan nodded and said, yes, the elders gave me a post. All the 100 disciples from the 9 Nether Road must participate. The first golden ranking tournament must be grand and cannot bring shame to the supreme sect. Heavenly destiny. Summer arrived, and the Supreme Sect's Golden Ranking Tournament commenced as scheduled. Participants in the Golden Ranking Tournament were all cultivators under 500 years old, and the Supreme Sect would test the bone age of the participants specifically. The post Leah had given to Xuan for the Golden Ranking Tournament, he wasn't sure who to give it to, and didn't want to waste it, so he chose to register himself. At 72 years of age, he successfully registered with the eligibility of youth. The Golden Ranking Tournament was conducted in a one-on-one format, with no fixed duration, continuing until completion. The Supreme Sect would heal the injured participants to keep them in optimal condition. Special formations would be set up by the Supreme Sect to suppress the higher cultivations to the level of their opponents, ensuring fairness in terms of realm. When the Golden Ranking Tournament began, Xuan was watching from the eaves of the outer sect, sitting with Yilan. Between them was a small table, accompanied by spirit melons, spirit fruits, and fine wine. From their perspective, a gigantic light screen was suspended in the air above the outer sect, reflecting the scenes of the combats within. Xuan didn't recognize the 2 cultivators fighting but enjoyed the spectacle nonetheless. As Yilan peeled some fruit for Xuan, she said, "Senior brother, the cultivation technique you passed to me is very difficult, much harder than the previous one. I wonder when I'll be able to master it." Xuan replied, "Cultivating is never easy. The Taoist expansion skill could at most double one's maximum lifespan, while the primordial reincarnation skill could increase it several times. If Yilan could master it, living to 800 years this lifetime wouldn't be impossible. For someone with Yilan's aptitude, this was already a great blessing." Yilan smiled and said, "I will definitely master it, don't worry." At this moment, a thunderous uproar rose in the city. It turned out that the first combat had already concluded. The victor is Duan Su from the Flame sect of the Great Zhao dynasty. Gu Zong's voice resounded from the giant light screen, causing the whole city to buzz with discussion. Yilan looked at the screen and smiled. "Impressive." Xuan nodded and then picked up his cup to drink. "Brother Gu." A voice came from the side. Xuan and Yilan turned to see Wu Ju standing on a distant rooftop, looking at them with a very unpleasant expression. 5 years had passed, and Wu Ju was still at the 9th layer of the Foundation Establishment realm, but his chi blood was vastly different from before. Ignoring him for 5 years, his maximum lifespan must have skyrocketed, right? Xuan felt like he was about to open a mystery box. He cautiously used lifespan detection on him. Wu Ju, Foundation Establishment realm, 9th layer, 74/350/7600, 7,600 years. Good grief.